you getting yourself ready for our show?
Hope you guys are ready for this. We have an amazing show for you this week. Jigs and Bigs. We have an awesome one lined up for you. First off, stick around for this entire show because you have some amazing guests coming up. We have Billy Rossini and Heidi Klein. They're from Naqua. If you don't know what Naqua is, Naqua has the power that you need when you're on the water in a small enough package to make it easy where you won't break your foot. You'll understand why I say that in a moment. We're going to talk about rivers. Rivers kind of became a big topic this week for a lot of reasons. We have a lot of things that we're going to cover regarding rivers specifically. Huge events coming up this weekend that you're going to want to be a part of. One of those big ones, the biggest I think right now that we're talking about is Trifecta. Details coming about that. Sean the Fisherman has some stories. He's always got stories, but today he's talking about fishing one of like the best smallmouth fisheries in the Midwest, if not maybe the entire country, really. And we'll get into the details there. And we have a little bit of follow-up with a former guest from that neck of the woods. So all kinds of good stuff, guys. You're not going to want to miss out. We have an amazing program lined up for you. Check this sucker out. We have so much great stuff happening for you this week. I'm here. I'm excited. Bobby Roast Beef. I got Sean the Fisherman. We got an amazing interview. I can't wait to see what happens. Guys, I hope you have a tasty beverage to enjoy and get ready. We'll be back after this. We really are. We're like the only podcast that I feel like comes out with the energy of like a Kiss concert. You know what? I like that feeling. It feels good. Sean, how the hell are you this week, buddy?
Well, I'm good, but now I'm going out to buy face paint.
And you should. Are you going Ace Frehley? Are you going? What are you thinking?
You know, it's funny. I actually have a picture from myself, my brother, and my sister when you and I must have been juniors or seniors in high school with that Halloween. And we did dress up as 3 out of 4 members of Kiss. And because of my height, I went Gene Simmons, baby. I'm the demon.
Oh, you got to.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think it's only right. You have the opportunity. You got it. It's like Gene Simmons, baby. You know? That's how it is. Oh, what a week it's been, though. And I don't even want to say it's been like getting back to real life necessarily because it was a short week for lots of us with most people had Monday off for the, that's when the holiday was acknowledged was Monday. I got out to fish on Monday with Paul, which is crazy for a weekday. It was nice, though, to be back in the swing of things as far as like fishing, trivia, being home. And not drowning my liver and eating like a fool. Actually, no, I was still eating like a fool, but I did manage to rein it in a little bit. It's a slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope.
I'll be halfway joining you very soon. The sun is setting on my little Midwestern soiree here.
It is.
I'll be coming home soon, and a lot of stuff on the plate. Looking forward. We got a Massachusetts kayak bassing tournament coming up on the 24th.
Mm-hmm.
I just scheduled my round 3 knockout matchup with the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Morcone. Mike is yet another national level angler. So, you get deeper into this thing. It doesn't get any easier.
No.
So he and I will be fishing at a lake near and dear to our friends at Old Glory. We're going to be hitting Lake Lashaway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Mike is out in the I forget. I keep saying Westboro because I know he lives somewhere near the A1 site. And guess what's right in the middle between us? The Sturbridge Brimfield area. So I started poking around there. And honestly, the only time I've ever fished Lashaway was with you, the Hookset Hoodlums, and the Lunker Lads. So I told Mike, I said, look, man, I said, if you haven't fished there, if you have minimal experience or whatever, I said, so do I. And I have a hankering to go back there. So let's do it. He was okay with that. So we're going to go out and hit it.
That's awesome.
But then the big one, The big one.
Yeah.
We got the trifecta coming up this coming weekend. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting a little salty, man. I'm getting out there in the salt.
You're psyched, aren't you?
I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be very bizarre. Right? Just looking forward to it.
That is going to be freaking bananas for you. I'm psyched. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a crazy weekend. I mean, this weekend in general is just going to be nuts. Like, it's trifecta weekend, so you're going to be heading down. You're heading down Friday night, right?
Well, I'm heading down
Friday morning, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going back and forth. I'm going to go down Friday, and I believe I'm working a table. I guess I can say that I'm not a Three Bells employee, but I play one on trifecta.
You play one on trifecta. So, I like that.
Yeah. So I'll be helping them out, little volunteer work on Friday, and then Saturday I'm fishing it with Nelson, and I believe Instagrammer Sarah P is coming down there and fishing it, and Derek and Lauren are hooking all of myself and Nelson up with her to get out on the salt. She's at the same level as I am in the salt, so
nice.
I mean, I'm useless.
You're going to be leaning a lot, I think, on Nelson, right? That's
hell yeah. Nelson actually has a road trip for this because he'll be up camping with his family in Vermont for the week. He is shooting down from Vermont on Friday evening. We're going to the trifecta on Saturday morning, early.
Wow.
We might be so early that we're dodging drunks Friday night. That's how early.
Yeah, that's pretty early.
Yeah, and then he's heading back Saturday afterwards and going to pack up his camper and head home.
Nice.
And then Sunday, you and I are the tag team champions.
Sunday So I would love to join you Friday and Saturday. My weekend is insane. I've got a wedding on Friday that I'm working, which is nice because it's at a venue that's like right around the corner from my house, so it's going to be really nice. Sucks that I have to cancel trivia right after the week I was gone for Vegas for that night, but this is the couple that's getting married. They're one of my they're members of a team that regularly plays, so that's pretty cool. I love it when stuff like that works out and it goes full circle. It's one of my favorites. And then Saturday, my oldest daughter is on vacation right now with her BFF from school and her family. They're staying in Rhode Island. And she did this trip last year. They had a great time, and it's always a good time for her. But she's coming home on Saturday, and I have to go and pick her up because she's not coming home with them. She's only staying for a week. She took a week off of work, which is crazy to say that my kid has a job. Like I don't feel like I'm old enough to have a kid that's employed, but I am. I'm an old man,
I'm right there with you, buddy.
Yeah,
I got
it's crazy.
Another year or two.
So I have to go pick her up, and I told her, I was like, look, that's not a problem. I said, but I'm going to capitalize on this. And I sent a message over to Becca and Todd Grubb, two of my favorite Rhode Islanders, to say, so let's find some largemouth. Let's go ahead and do this because I'm not going to be picking her up until a little bit later in the evening. So that's what's happening with me on Saturday. And then Sunday is the final day of the trifecta, and then there's the huge raffle at the banquet that's going on, the little reception to kind of cap everything right there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And you're carpooling with me that day. I think you probably need the break. Yeah.
Shotgun, buddy.
You got it.
Yeah, I'm going to be sick of driving by that day.
I don't blame you. I'm
already sick of driving, to be quite honest, but whatever.
Oh my goodness. What a crazy, crazy week. Why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's jump in. I got a couple of things. First off, the rain this week was insane. Water levels all over the place are crazy high. Paul Friday night had sent me some video of one of our regular fishing spots where we fish nearby a dam, and there's a spillway where we never ever see water going over. Like, even when it's been high in the years past, it's never been high enough where water's actually been spilling over on this one side. And he sent me video of this, and it is just like buckets. It is moving. So, I mean, we got some significant rain, and I know we had been saying for months now how low water levels have been in the Western Mass, and that, like, I know we're experiencing a drought, but like, wow, I think we made some some movement toward being back up to typical levels in the last 7 days easily. I mean, it was crazy. But Berkshire Brett shared something with me, and I thought this was really, really interesting. He shared this link from Connecticut River Conservancy on Instagram, and CT River Conservancy puts up a post, and it's basically it's a map with all of these locations along the Connecticut River Valley and all of the states that it goes through. And really what that does is it shows where they did some water testing, quality of the water in that area. And what they put in there for the post was this. Rain flushes all sorts of bacteria and junk, including trash, into rivers, and this week's water testing results prove it. The map here shows lots of red sites. That means that they're not clean for swimming or for boating. After heavy rains, we recommend waiting 24 to 48 hours before going in the river. So use caution this weekend, given all the rain that most of us got during the week. If you want to see the testing results for yourself, go ahead and visit www.ctriver.org/isitclean. Check that out, and you'll find out the individual sites where they tested, and there's a lot of red that is on here. Connecticut River Conservancy works with partners and volunteers in all 4 river states to collect this information and post it online because they believe that river users, that means us, fishermen, anglers, and even wreck boaters and all them, that we deserve to have an easy way to access real info and data about the rivers we're using. So it's crazy. But when I say that the water levels were high, I mean they were freaking high. Higher than I think some of the people recreating in the rivers at some point, if you know what I mean. Oh, that's the wrong button. That's the wrong button. It should have been, what I should have done was this. Jesus, what is wrong with me?
Hey,
that one right there.
That's fine. Keep that wah one laying around. I'm gonna need that one later. I'll give you the cue. I'll give you the cue. Yeah, I'm gonna need that one big time.
Because there is Sean tipped me off to this one story that had gone under the radar that just came out from actually a former employer of mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say your former place of business.
My former place of business. I try to not pay much attention to the news media because I'll tell you, after 20 years of working in it, I don't have the patience for it anymore. But this story came out from WWLP TV 22, and it basically says that a vehicle was seen on the 22 News live camera network that was a car that was parked on a sandbar in the Connecticut River. Now, lots of news companies news stations utilize these like live cams all over the place. Lots of times they'll use it for traffic, get shots of the highways and things like this. This comes in really useful, but they're very powerful. They can zoom right in. If you check out WWLP.com and look for this live car on sandbar in Connecticut River, just search for that and you'll find the video. You'll see how freaking amazing this camera is. But anyway, it says that the vehicle was on the Agawam side of the Connecticut River that's near the famed Bondi's Island. If you don't know what Bondi's Island is, but you've driven through Springfield, Agawam, West Springfield area before, you've certainly smelled it at one time or another. The people on the sandbar didn't appear to be stuck or in need of any kind of help. The river waters are low enough to be able to walk across on part of the Connecticut. However, it is not advisable to drive a vehicle through the river. How sad is it that has to be said?
I really wanted to make that guy the FTG, the fuck that guy for this week, but
yeah.
It's just America. It was 4th of July, the week before the 4th of July. That dude wants to drive his SUV out onto a sandbar. Who are we to stop him?
I have a feeling I know why he was out there.
Drugs.
Did Springfield drugs? Did Springfield do their fireworks this year? Because I wasn't in town for them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Neither was I.
I'm wondering if they did, if maybe that's why he was out there. Although it was posted on June 28th, so maybe he was just out there, with some fireworks of his own. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Check out that video.
Scrappy sleepy tobacco.
Could have been. Definitely could have been. Check out that video if you want to see it for yourself over at wwop.com. It's pretty interesting. It's just a shot. It's one of those things. Hopefully, we never have to see it again. Some idiot on a sandbar in the middle of a river, just water rushing all around him. And they're like basking in the water. Keep in mind, this is the same week that story came out about trash and garbage and bacteria being flushed in the rivers from all the rain. So there's that too.
But we should note that it was before the rain. I mean, because it boggles my mind that there are a large number of, ponds, lakes, et cetera, with swimming areas, and people do this. It's like, it's a Connecticut River. Like I'm sure there's needles in there. Like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, how many bodies come up out of that river? I mean, it's just.
I mean, this year's been like 5, right?
A lot. Yeah.
Like legit, it's been like 5.
I think it's been 5.
And one side note too, due to some unforeseen circumstances surrounding the Army Corps of Engineers, the next MAKB West tournament is on the Connecticut River.
Oh, of course. Of course, as it should be.
Now, I want to, while we're talking about this, I kind of want to throw one thing in, because you made mention of the area regional famous Bondi's Island.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a lot of Western Masses, if not all. I don't know. Does it service any towns besides Springfield and West Springfield?
I'm not really sure because I know that there is a treatment plant up here in Holyoke. Yep. And I'm not sure where else along the river there is.
I know UMass has one by itself, but that's like a city to itself when the kids are there.
They've got their own zip code and shit. So
wait a minute. There's another one. Chicopee has its own right on the Connecticut River.
They do.
So I don't know who else does, but either way, like it boggles my mind that I understand the Basketball Hall of Fame's right there. And I understand that those things like that, those attractions are not going to move, but it kills me that there's always a push to make that a recreational district when in the summer you smell shit.
There is a huge reason why I don't put pressure on my Tuesday night trivia venue, which is right at the Basketball Hall of Fame, to do games in the heat of the summer outdoors on their patio, because you get the Bondi bouquet. And it's just not that good, You do. You get the Bondi bouquet and it leaves people retching. It's not fun.
It's horrible. Yeah.
And on a windy night, it's bad. Too many brown trout. Overstocked. I know it's over our pay grades, but it sucks. Oh yeah. I mean, but it's one of those like necessary evils. It's like you've got to have that type of, in a major city, you've got to have a processing center to, or what I think the kids would call it a shit factory. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, kids. But also while we're speaking of rivers, earlier this week I put out a post on Instagram, and it was basically 4 categories: pond, lake, river, ocean. If you had to fish one for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I had mentioned in there that mine would be river systems. It would 100% be river systems. There was a lot of people who jumped in there and said the same thing. And it's primarily for one of two things, because I feel like with a river system, you get a ton of species. But rivers are kind of the glue that ties all the water bodies together. So depending on where you are in the river, you can have some saltwater species that'll be down in the mouth of that river. You can have some freshwater species that'll be very close to the coast, You get this big mix of what's going on, but you also get river systems that turn into just huge lakes. Where I caught my new personal best this year was one of those situations. It's basically a dammed up river, and it's just like you have the food available to support big fish. You've got the diversity of species. A lot of people jumped in and said oceans, and of course we had a lot of people who jumped in and said ponds too, because that's what their comfort level is, and I totally get that. But where do you weigh in on this, Sean? If you had those 4 to choose from, you could only fish one for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
Well, I'm not an ocean guy, so that's eliminated. I don't know, man. Get a question in here and clarify one of the choices.
Yeah.
Does that lake allow recreational boats?
I think you have to assume that in any of those situations, they all would allow recreational boats.
Most ponds don't.
Well, I suppose it depends on the size of the pond.
You know what? I'd have to go with ponds.
Yeah,
I've got too many big fish out of ponds over my life. I'm going to go with ponds.
You're going to go with ponds? I like that.
I'm going to go pond. I'm going to go pond. Now, can I go to many ponds, or is it just one pond?
I think it would be any ponds.
Then I'll stick with
anything
ponds.
that qualifies as a pond. I've always been curious about this, and we should actually do this as part of a special show. I have always struggled with defining different types of bodies of water. Like, I know you've talked about, what is it, kettle ponds before, and I've heard the term highland and lowland reservoirs. There's obviously natural lakes and then man-made lakes. But I would love to get some real insight into that. I've never really sort of paid attention to, and I know that some of it's geographic, depending on where in the country you are. Like some you have certain things in certain parts of the country that you don't have elsewhere, or vice versa. So I think that would be kind of an interesting thing to look at, anyway. I don't know.
I'm sure there's some sort of definitive guide out there somewhere that we can look at.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. We have the internet. I'm thinking maybe what we should do is bring somebody on that's much more schooled with different types of bodies of water and then laying them out. Because one thing. Like, I'll watch Tactical Bassin, and they'll talk about fishing certain styles of baits, and they're like, this works great if you're in a highland reservoir with such and such a bottom or something like that. And I'm like, the fuck is that?
Don't we have a biologist from Florida on staff that can answer these questions for us?
We do. Yeah, a biologist. I don't know if that's going to put him in the. We'll ask him. Good old Professor Daniel. Professor Dan. We'll ask. That's a good idea.
Come on, Dan, step it up. We need a dissertation on water body types and definitions, parameters, whatever.
What are we dealing with here? That's what I'm curious.
That's right.
How, as far as fishing goes, I know you've been out daily since the last show, which is awesome. You've been out there killing it. I have not, so I'm going to go ahead and do my recap for what this week has provided me. Basically, we recorded the show last Sunday on the 4th, and no, did we record on Monday?
We recorded on Monday.
We did record on Monday. So I had already gone out fishing with Paul. We had fished 3 different spots. One of them was a spot that I had fished with my wife when I brought her out on that little mission to try to get her to fall in love with fishing and stuff. And we went over there, explored a little bit more of it than I did when I was out with Holly, which is cool. Definitely they were biting over there. But I hooked up with nothing. Paul lost a big pickerel over there. We went to a different college campus than we normally go to. And we stopped in there and we're like, let's just take a walk down and see if those signs say no fishing. And they didn't. There was one sign that said, stay off ice, not safe. And then there was another one that said, stay out of basically keep out of the water, shoreline activities only. So we're like, well, bank fishing is a shoreline activity. We're good. And we had at this college campus, we actually had someone from their campus police approach us. And I was like, oh, are we going to get kicked out? Come on. And no, not at all. He was just amazed that we were there fishing and wanted to know, if we had caught anything. So we started talking. He didn't fish at all, but, we were talking, and come to find out, in this pond, this would be good to know, there's a big steam pipe that runs underneath.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it only freezes when it's extremely cold, and it only freezes like a half an inch. It doesn't freeze much at all. No. Lots of bait in here in this one pond. Not a whole lot going on otherwise. I was throwing... Was it a Nico? I forgot what I saw. It was either a Nico or a drop shot. And I had some bluegill nipping at my plastic, and that was pretty much all. Then I don't think I fished for the rest of the week. I actually had plans to go out on Monday fishing at Quabbin, and that got the nix because, plans changed and things like that, so we're going to reschedule that. And I went out this last Saturday with Paul. We went to that body of water where I caught my PB and also where I hooked myself. I had gone back over there and they had closed the boat ramp. They're doing a bunch of construction over there. I don't know if they're expanding the parking or what it is that's going on, but the boat ramp is closed. So we pulled an audible and we went to this body of water that has an awful reputation for just like dinks everywhere. I've never heard of, some people say it's good fishing, but it's good fishing if you want like numbers, And that's exactly what I did. I threw a weightless fluke all day. It was the Guggen Dart, in fact. And I threw that all day long. I got 10 bites. I landed 5 fish. I had one other bite that was on a swim jig. And then because I got so bored with these nibblers, this one pond has a 30-foot hole. Like one pocket that's 30 feet deep, because I pulled a play out of the Sean the Fisherman book and I looked up the DCR pond maps, found it, and then used my GPS to put myself right over there. And what I decided to throw was a half-ounce swinging football head jig with a large paddle tail swim bait. Get that sucker down there, get it, with some action. And the paddle tail was white and green pumpkin. So I'm like, all right, so it's got a light color down there. It can be seen. I fished there for about 20 or 30 minutes, and I was just like, all right, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm just giving this, I'm taking a swing at it. We'll see. Nothing came up, so I went over to the shallows again, started throwing around a fluke, caught 3 more fish, called it a day. It's just like, all right, let's get going. So we went out and we had a really good meal at a local eatery not too far from this pond, and it was pretty damn good. I think it was the Brookside Cafe is where we went. And it was pretty tasty.
What else happened while you were there?
At the Brookside?
No, not at the Brookside, at the lake.
Oh, that's right, at the lake. Thanks for the reminder. So
it's what I'm here for, boss.
Yeah, it is. So this was really interesting. I had an encounter, an engagement. This is crazy. So let me give you a little bit of background information about this lake. I was going into it. We had 3 places on the list, one of which is a super grassy lake. I fished there before. And when I say it's a grassy lake, I mean like it will collect at the surface and you got to throw a frog on top, or, you got to punch it. It's just, this is thick grass vegetation. The other one that we were looking at, the place with the closed with the, what do you call it? The closed ramp. That one is a little bit more open water in a lot of spots, a lot of rocks and submerged timber in different spots, but it's also much larger. We're actually going to be putting in some miles as far as paddling and getting into some of these other pockets. But while we were at this pond that we ultimately ended up fishing, as we're loading in the kayaks, I said to Paul, I was just like, now, I don't know what the bottom's like here. I don't know if this has a lot of grass. I don't know what we're going to run into. So I'm trying to play it safe. Like, I'm not going to go and throw a walking bait or my topwater stuff. I'm going to go with a buzz toad, so that way, if it is grassy, I'm not having to retie just because, What else did I throw? I threw a weightless fluke. I threw a swim jig. And I could see that there was some grass on the bottom, but it wasn't growing up crazy high. There were spots where I was maybe 15 feet, and this is really pretty clear, good visibility. And, I would maybe be in somewhere between like 10 to 15 feet of water, and I could see grass, on the bottom, but it wasn't like crazy at all. Like, this wasn't what I would consider a grassy lake. I would consider this to be actually pretty clear. And I get over to this one spot, and I was working this small cove right along all the docks that were over there, just flipping this fluke under the docks and catching some fish, and it was great. And as I was working this one dock, I had this encounter with this woman who lived right on the lake, and she was getting on a paddleboard, just going out for a paddle, doing her thing. And we had a small interaction. She's like, what side should I go, what side are you not fishing? And I was just like, just go around behind me and stay to my left. I was like, I'll work on this side here. She's like, okay, great. Well, as I had worked my way around to the opposite side of this cove, I got hung up in what I thought was some grass. Spoiler alert, it was not grass. It was actually like the head of a mop. It was fabric. It was the strangest thing I have ever seen. I don't know if that was like a marker or what it is, but I was able to get, unhooked and everything was fine. And as I was kind of like unhooking this, she comes around and is headed back towards her dock. And she's like, "Oh, did you catch anything?" And then she's like, "If you need any help, I can unhook that for you." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Oh," I said, no, I'm all set. It's all good. So I go to paddle away and she's like, "Yeah, there was a couple of other, guys in this boat and they got hung up in some of the grass. So I went and helped them out." And I'm like, "Really? Okay. That's cool." And she's like, this pond is so grassy. There's so much vegetation. We really have to do something to kill it off. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, this is not like a mess at all. This is, if anything, there's room to grow, in my opinion." And in my mind, I know, like, I try not to argue with people while I'm out fishing, and I know, like, people think they want to manage a pond for their own selfish reasons. You know what I mean? They want to have a pond that doesn't have any grass so that they can have a nice swimming area and they can have, whatever. And it's great. If you want to clear the vegetation away from the area of the pond where you're recreating, then I suppose awesome. But when you're going, you're like dropping chemicals or whatever to like kill off a bunch of vegetation, what ends up happening is you end up killing the insect spawn, and then that in turn kills the food supply for the smaller fish, which then kills the food supply for the larger fish, and this whole thing. So I had like this brief moment of, I would consider genius. Anytime I mention the fish, people automatically are just like, "Well, who cares about the fish?" You know what I mean? And then to go back and explain more. But for some reason, I proved this. I always had this theory that if you just mention the turtles, people would care. Because, like, the state doesn't make signs for bass, like largemouth bass crossing or anything like that. You know what I mean? But they will for turtles. Shit, they will for geese. Things like this.
Yep.
If you tell them and you don't lump it into a category of the wildlife, but if you give them something that they can, like, make a connection to, so the turtles, the geese, the ducks, I'm like, so what's going to happen to all that? That's, if you kill the grass, you're going to kill off all of that food supply, and then all this other wildlife, the turtles and such, they're going to be gone. And she was just like, "I never thought of that. Oh my God." And I'm like, "Really?" So I think as anglers, we really need to start thinking, turtle forward,
Gotta think about the turtles. You're a genius. I was blown away when you told me that.
You, like the turtles, because people, they freak out. Dude, paper straws, enough said. Yeah. You get people drinking out of paper straws because it's bad for the turtles, or all of a sudden now there's this like aluminum or stainless steel straw industry. Turtles, bro.
Yeah.
Turtles. I like turtles.
This is where this point of the podcast is where you have to go online and insert that kid. I like turtles.
Yes, 100%.
Well, you had an exciting week. Here's mine.
Yeah, hit me with some funny shit.
Well, it's not all going to be funny. Remember that cue I asked you for earlier? I was thinking about this yesterday when I was finishing up listening to Brandon Dust Off Fishing's interview.
Yep.
I'm a little backed up on my podcasting with the amount of fishing I'm doing because I don't listen to anything when I fish. So when you asked him for his two stories, his good and his bad, I thought about what I answered to you in my initial interview on episode 3 of this very podcast.
Yep.
And I would like to change my answer as of this week to the worst day I've had.
Okay.
Because of what happened to me. I don't know, what day was it? Let me tell you exactly what day.
I'm sure
it was. I'm looking at my notebook. Hear that? My notebook. It was the 8th of July.
Oh, really? Okay. Hit it. All right. Tell me what happened.
I did that day because you got several phone calls from me.
Oh, that's right. Well, for the listeners.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, I don't even know if Dr. Bill is good for this. This is too evil for Dr. Bill.
Oh.
Like, Dr. Bill's like cheerful. You know what I mean? It's goofy. Hey, there's that goofy guy. This isn't goofy at all.
It is.
This was some serious shit I went through on the 8th. Well, I made my return trip to Lake Mille to try and get a smallmouth on the board for the Jigs and Bigs tournament.
Okay.
And when I got out there, I think did we talk about my first trip out there on the last podcast? I think we did, right?
I think, yeah, we covered it a little bit. How it was just basically the beginning of
rain.
Yeah.
Rain and wind, and it was awful. Okay, that happens. Round 2 comes up. The wind is still blowing out of the east, but it's not as bad. I get out on the water. I have just purchased 3. This whole trip I've been using very, very heavy bladed jigs, so chatterbaits, thunder crickets, Picasso shock blades, which a pike took from my last one from me. That was a big one too. That was an 1.5 ounce lure I was throwing around, and bass were hitting it, which was funny. I was catching pike and 16-inch bass on a 1.5 ounce chatterbait that was making me shake when I was using it. Anyways, I got 3 3/4 ounce Strike King thunder crickets that are apparently the last 3 bladed jigs left in Minnesota over 1/2 ounce. I found plenty of 1/2 ouncers. These were the only ones I could find bigger. And I went over to Mille and I rigged those bad Larrys up with the Z-Man razor shads, which I know for years they've had a reputation as a great chatterbait trailer. And up until this year, I've never used them as a chatterbait trailer. I just never. Really? Yeah, I have luck with another trailer I use, and I just stuck with what was working. I never experimented. Well, I experimented this trip, and I used one on the shock blade, and it was catching me fish. So I said, well, I'll try it on a smaller one, see what happens. It wasn't as erratic as that shock blade, dude. That shock blade is a whole another world of lures. I mean, it is. I don't know what to tell you. I have to get maybe a pike rod for home and let you throw it around and be like, this is insane. You do this for hours. And yes, I'm at this point, I think I have shoulders like Dwight Howard, but, I went out there and I should make mention for those of you who are not familiar with Mille, as I was not until the past week, I am going to say this number and I am going to say it again to make sure everyone hears me who does not know about this lake. It is 128,000 acres of water.
A lot of water.
128,000. It's 20 miles across.
Yeah.
I picked 2 spots to try and catch fish because I only had 2 days to go there. So day 2, I'm at my new little launch. It's a little windy in the morning, a little windier than I would have liked. And I ended up leaving a very strange maneuver for me. I ended up leaving my scupper stoppers out to let the water drain. Usually I keep them in. I then pedaled a 1/2 mile offshore.
Oh my
half
God.
a mile to a submerged mid-lake hump. It even has a name on the maps. I could look up the name. I'll tell everybody where I went because I don't give a shit. Look at this. And Bobby, look at this. I'm going to show you on the camera here. I do this every now and again with big name lakes I fish.
Yep.
I get these folding maps.
Yes.
So I only have 2 of them. I have one for Mille now, and I have one at home that's up on the wall for Lake Ray Roberts in Texas because I fished that years ago.
Yep.
Win or lose, I do this. So the name of the place I fished was it looks like Dwayne's Flat. So I don't know who Dwayne is, but he certainly fucked me.
Damn it, Dwayne.
I got out there, cast number 1, I got a hit, feeling very excited. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be great. Cast number 2, nothing. Cast number 3, I wrapped my line around my visibility flag on the back of my kayak. I backlashed my reel so badly, and I could not make any substitutions. I needed this reel, this speed, this rod, and that line. Because again, I'm a minimalist, and this is the risk and reward of that.
Definitely.
I called you at 8:15 in the morning saying, hey man, I just got it. I got out here, I'm excited and I'm ready to fish as I was pedaling out.
Yep.
I called you back, I think at 10:15 and said, I just got the backlash out. I'm pedaling back out. I drifted with the wind, 5 to 10 mile an hour wind. All right. Obviously I'm not going 5 to 10 miles an hour, but
yeah,
the entire hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it was, I drifted all the way back to the launch.
That's
I was
insane.
at the launch. I had to take the spool out of the reel and thread the entire line all the way back through itself to get those knots out. That's how bad that was.
Really?
The irony of this is 2 days prior to that, I had accidentally backlashed a frog rod.
Yep.
And I put the picture up on the infamous Hookset Hoodlums Pro Staff thread, which got a few laughs. And actually, that reel was the one I was complaining about last show, that I went to set the hook on a bowfin and it screamed at me. And
That's
gave.
right. Yep.
So that was it. That was the final straw for that one. That thing went to the garbage. Luckily, I had a spare and it was strung up with braid. And yeah, that backlash was the one I took the picture of, and that was 2 days prior to this. So 2 hours into my second Mille Lacs trip, I've made 3 casts. I've got 1 hit and a horrific backlash that I had to undo. I go back out to Dwayne's flat and I say, let's throw this around. I stick around there for a little
Dwayne.
while. Yeah, me and you, Dwayne, we're going at it, and nothing happened. My next stop was there is the large peninsula that is right near the launch I threw in. And the large peninsula is called Indian Point. At the end of Indian Point is a, I don't know, maybe 100-yard island called Rainbow Island. Maybe 200 yards. I don't know. It wasn't very
Rainbow Island.
Rainbow Island. Not what was it? Rainbow Racetrack from Mario Kart.
Yeah.
We don't, not that. There were no, dinosaurs on go-karts out there. It's all good. And off the end of Rainbow Island was a small rocky outcropping, which was pure white. And I thought that was funny. I'm like, what the hell why is that white? And as I got closer, I realized it was movement on that. And the white was the Pelicans that were all sitting on that outcropping.
That's right. The Pelican shit.
Then I came at that thing from downwind and did not know it because I was fishing Indian Point. I was blasted in the face with pelican and cormorant shit for a solid, I don't know, quarter mile. It was hellish. It was hell.
Like heaving?
Dude, it was so bad. I was chewing sunflower seeds. I had to stop. It was just nauseating.
Yeah.
And I even went out to get away from it. It didn't work. I'm like, this is awful. So I couldn't fish. Now I'm engulfed in pelican shit. I get past the rock and they all move and the island stayed white. There was so much shit on it. It was awful. So I got past it, and that Indian Point stays, submerged.
Yeah.
For a long time. Once you get past that rocky outcropping, I just measured it before we started talking about this. From the launch to the end of the point where I fished was a 2 and almost a quarter mile pedal. So
just out to that miles. Point. That's dude. Oh my God. Now I want to throw this out here just to show the difference. Cause some people, especially if you don't kayak fish necessarily, you might not necessarily think of this distance as of anything. But when I gauged my trip Saturday with this small pond, I don't know the acreage of this one specific pond, but I track everything in the Angler app. I paddled 2.5 miles that day, all day long. You know what I mean? I can't imagine going out that distance to one point.
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Yeah, well, that was my plan. I saw that point. I said, I want to hit it. There was, the reports that I saw said not only were there smallmouth and pike regularly there, but walleye were caught there normally and sometimes muskie.
Yeah, now it's funny. You mentioned muskie and everything I've ever heard about Mille Lacs is the muskie fishing trips that go on regularly over there. And that's always stuck in my head as a bucket list sort of thing. Where you'll get groups that will go and they'll camp on some of the islands and just beach the boat and then go out first thing in the morning, fish for muskie, then come back and then go out again at night,
Yep. Oh, well, when I got out to that point, I learned something, and I think I called you later on the way home.
Yep.
Because I was so shocked with it. But
pelicans suck.
Well, pelicans do suck. They stink.
Yeah.
But what I saw at the bottom of that point in the submerged part, where it was still 4 feet of water, we in the Northeast, for the most part, at least in Massachusetts, I know there's a couple of lakes that are affected by it, but for the most part, most lakes are not. The zebra mussels.
Yeah, the zebra mussels.
Holy shit. I thought the bottom of the lake was like like a pea gravel. You know what I mean? So it was like dark and light mixed up, kind of mottled. And as I got shallower, I realized it wasn't. It was all dark rocks with a light coat of algae or whatever on it and covered in zebra mussels. And the zebra mussels show a little bit more white in the water. I was shocked. Like, I was completely shocked. I am actually extremely glad my first jaunt when I get home is on the ocean to kill whatever's in my boat.
Yeah, exactly. That's really good.
Yeah. Anyways, I got out there. I fished Indian Point. Side note on this, pedal kayaks are a rarity in Minnesota because
really
people really stop and look and unfortunately, I've said this before. Your voice carries over water. I can hear you when you're like, look at that fucking kayak. That dude's got pedals. What is he, biking? Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, Richard Simmons, what you catching over there?
Exactly. Second tangent. We've had some, I'm sure every group of friends has some sort of inside Richard Simmons jokes over the years, right?
Yeah.
We were at Target the other day and I found on sale, Richard Simmons, the board game includes a sweatshirt and a headband.
What?
They were on sale, 50% off. Yeah, well, I have a running joke with two other buddies, so they asked for them. I'm like, you guys are sick. I mean, I sent them the picture saying, you two have no idea how close you came to this. And they were like, why didn't you buy it for us? So now they know their Christmas presents. Anyways, back to Mille. So I've survived the backlash. I've survived the smelly pelicans and the cormorants. During that time, I managed to get one possibly 8-inch smallmouth. It was so small I didn't even bother measuring it. So I'm like, oh, there goes that. Out of here. Pitched him. I got to the end of the point. I started running crankbaits. I started throwing Ned rigs. I was having a good old time. I caught a 14-inch smallmouth who immediately jumped my board.
Jerk.
Missed the net completely. Out of here. I'm like, well, that sucks. I'll get another one. I had something grab a crankbait and run with it. Could have been a pike. I have no idea. It spit the hook.
Oh.
Okay, there's that. Then I catch a 12-inch smallmouth. And I'm very carefully,
gingerly
putting him on the board.
Yeah.
I will say this: the Father's Day present I got, that foldable catch board, actually fits inside the hull, like inside of my hull of my kayak. So I can actually recess that, so it gives me a little bit more wiggle room for fish that are jumping. They might land in the hull.
Yeah,
they're not on top of the hull. They're down below a little bit, little recessed. Yeah. Well, smallmouth number 2 decided he was going overboard on the right-hand side, which is rare. Usually don't see him fly all the way across the boat. No. This one decided to. Those were the only 3 fish I caught. I sat out there and rotted for the next 3 to 4 hours on the way back, the drift back. I had one pike chase, I think a chatterbait. Here's the last part. After I got around the other side of Rainbow Island and started making my way back, I was besieged by houseflies. Like, at this point now, I'm like, all right, the smell, no fish, the backlash, now flies.
Yeah.
Like, I actually sent Ken Wood a message because he and I had a little conversation going about this. And I said, Ken, because Ken's a big music guy, and I said, this is the only thing I could think of on this paddle back was, for those of you who are familiar with the old 9 Inch Nails videos for the Broken album, there's one video for, I believe it's the song Help Me, I Am in Hell. And it's a guy who's sitting down having like a 3-course meal in a glass room full of houseflies. It's horrific to watch. And that's what I lived through the other day, minus the steak. Oh, it was awful. So by the time I got back, I was actually, I hit Dwayne's point. Dwayne's flat again.
Fucking Dwayne.
That's where that pike followed me. And I got a call from Lauren and Derek at Three Bells. They were explaining to me that there was some news about the trifecta and some other stuff and my role, et cetera. And we were talking. And I said, I think I may have somehow pissed off a Native American deity, because that's all tribal land. I have no other explanation. That was possibly the worst day of fishing I've ever had. And I got 3 fish, but they didn't matter because they jumped the board.
Yep.
It just sucked, man. It just sucked. It sucked.
We will have our day, Sean.
I know.
We will have our day at Mille someday. It's going to happen.
I don't want to go back there.
No, I'm telling you, no, it'll be a different animal.
There's 5 billion other lakes at this place.
Well, actually, that's true. It's like 12,000. Yeah.
That story out of the way. Let's make things a little brighter here.
Shift gears a bit.
3 times in the past 4 days, I have gone about an hour west of us.
Yep.
To a town that is on the outskirts, or not even the outskirts. It's on the shores of Leech Lake, which is another big name fishery in Minnesota. Little town called Walker. The first time we went up there, my wife and I got up there a little late. We were planning on going to the Peculiar Painter to see some of Kari Townsend's artwork, because that's where her stuff is.
That's awesome.
We got there late. They were closed. So that was trip number 1. But that day, I sent you pictures because we went to dinner.
Indeed, you did.
And after talking about it, because of COVID and everything else, my wife and I kind of think that that's the first like dinner date we've been on in like a year and a half to 2 years, just because
I believe
COVID.
it. Yeah. I don't think
since
we've been doing this show, which has been like, since we've been doing this show, I don't think we've done an episode where you're like, my wife and I went out for dinner and this is what we did.
Yeah, I can't honestly.
Isn't it nice?
I can't. It's nice to be back. You know what I mean? It's nice to be. So that was great. But we went to a place called now the town is Walker, Minnesota. We went to a place called Boulders, and I sent you pictures because my appetizer was a creamed red pepper soup, which was phenomenal, dude. I stuck my finger in and got the remnants of it. That's how good that soup was.
Yeah, where you're like, you want to lick the bowl, but you don't want to embarrass your old lady. That kind of thing.
I stuck my finger in. Yeah. Either way, it's embarrassing. I didn't give it. She had some of it. She's like, no, it's good.
And this is why, like, I'm not a huge bread guy in general, but this is where I like to have a little basket of bread on the table, because then you can be like,
well, some people can do those things. Some people can't. Well, up next, what did I choose? Man, I got a paella. And I ate that damn paella. I ate the whole thing.
Nice.
And I thought I was going to die. It was great. It was so good.
Oh, I believe it.
And then my wife said,
I believe it.
Yeah, it was a good paella. I'm pleased with my first paella. My paella cherry is broken. It's good stuff.
Now,
so
what was this is what blows my mind. Now, I know, the ability to move products from different parts of the world quickly, it's all good. I never think of like seafood in the Midwest. You know what I mean? Like, we're New Englanders. We're a little spoiled like that. Yeah, we're about 90 minutes, 2 hours away from the coastline necessarily. But when we get seafood here, it's reasonably fresh, Yep. Was this wasn't like a freshwater paella, was it? I don't think so.
I don't know about the mussels.
Yeah.
Definitely not the shrimp.
Yeah, definitely not the shrimp.
Mussels, shrimp. What else was in there?
Do you have any scallops in there?
No, it was mussels, shrimp, grilled chicken. There was some nice pieces of grilled chicken in there. Yep. And chorizo.
Oh, okay. All right, very nice.
Yeah,
it looked amazing. Like paella all day.
Yeah, I'm down with some paella, man. That was really, really good. And even though I was bloated and near death, when the dessert menu came out, they had a creme brulee. And not only did they have a creme brulee, but they had it with fresh raspberries. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, dude. So.
We've never done that. We should organize a dinner out some night with the wives. A Jigs and Bigs dinner out with the wives.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do that. And if it works well, then we'll extend a little bit further. Have like a big, because we've thrown around the idea of doing like a game dinner before. Like with like the network, the fam and stuff. I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out a place to eat, but so that was fantastic. So that was trip number 1 up to Walker. So now me and my wife know the lay of the land. We know there's food up there. There was a coffee company in the center of town that had stuff that I could eat at. And I'm like, all right, well, that's noted too. Right. And then of course, I had to be reminded, we'll get into that in a second, but there is a fantastic sporting goods store in there that I want to talk about.
Okay.
Trip number 2, Saturday, yesterday, we said we're going to go to the Peculiar Painter. And we did. And Kari was not there. I didn't expect her to be. But her mother-in-law runs a store. So we had a great conversation with her.
Oh, that's
My
awesome.
wife picked up some stuff, and it turns out I thought that Kari had some prints there.
Yeah.
She did not. I saw one of her original pieces, which was Sandy the Bass.
Yep.
So whoever wants to go take a peek at Sandy the Bass, which is, man, what a piece of work. I love that painting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we were looking for prints, and they weren't there. So I sent her a message, and she said, "Well, it's funny that you guys are here now because I am actually up at this 2-day arts and crafts festival over at this metal art workshop about a mile outside of town." And I got that message as we were going into part 2 of our day, which was a 2-hour drive to Duluth to see the sites up there. My wife loves to see sites. And then as long as we have something interactive to do, me and the boys are pretty good.
Sure.
We're spazzes. She's got 3 kids.
Yeah.
And also we had one of her nieces with us because, there's family stuff going on.
Sure.
So we went out to Duluth and got to see Lake Superior, and we got to go to the aquarium. We all love aquariums.
Yep.
Who doesn't love an aquarium?
Oh,
dude, they have a sturgeon petting tank with like 10 different species of sturgeon.
really?
Yeah. And it was great because we got around there. You got to wash your hands.
Yeah.
And they tell you, don't stick your hands in any deeper than up to your elbows. Right. So that, with me being so tall, it gives me a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And with some COVID measures in place, they had like, how do I put this? Like plexiglass slots. So you could get 2 people in
a slot
area.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was some plexiglass. So when we got there, myself and one of my sons took the middle slot. On the left-hand slot, there was a family of 3 there. So it was a husband, wife, and their, young son, or I think it was a son.
Yeah.
So they were all crammed in there, and then everybody else went in the other one. And this guy was like, he was all fired up. He was so happy that the sturgeon were there, but dude, it was so funny. Anytime they were near him, they would go like this, "Oh, we're going to the bottom around that guy." And they'd come right up to the top, right around him, right when they were out of arm's reach. And this guy, I don't know how long he was there, but he was like starting to get a little agitated that the sturgeon weren't coming to him. Well, lo and behold, the fisherman families there, we know how to pet stuff in petting tanks, right? Stingrays, bamboo sharks, you name it. We've done it all. We get there, and all of a sudden we're like tapping the water with our fingers. The sturgeon were coming to us for kisses.
It's like a Disney movie. Oh,
yes.
You're like Snow White.
After the third one came up, and I yelled to the guy, I'm like, "Hey, there's one coming." And he actually ran back. I completely forgot about his wife and child. Ran back, got in the slot. And he was probably about our age or a little younger, Yeah. Got in the slot, and when the sturgeon came through, you're only supposed to pet it with 2 fingers, right? You just got to rub the side.
Yeah.
I made sure those 2 fingers were a little underneath him, so I lifted it up so it made sure it stayed high for the next slot.
There you go. There you go.
Here I am giving the sturgeon a little reach around, which is great. That guy left. He was so happy.
So
He's like,
happy.
"Oh man, I got one. Oh yeah, I petted him." He was probably there for 30 minutes. I have no idea.
What if he wasn't visiting? What if he's there like every day? Because in my mind I'm imagining like a Richie Inez, just shows up, has nothing else to do. You know what I mean? Walks in there, brings a sandwich, thermos full of like Jolt Cola, and he's just like,
It's the dude from Mallrats trying to see the sailboat.
Yes. Ethan Suplee. Dude, it's funny you mention aquariums because my wife took a trip on a plane for the first time. Now all of a sudden she's like jet set everywhere. She wants to go to Japan. She found out that there's at the Universal Studios in Japan, there's a a Super Nintendo World. Which has like a full-on like Mario Kart ride and all kinds of shit, like all the stuff she wants to see.
Did you see that giant Godzilla thing they're setting up?
I did hear about that. Yeah. That
Holy shit! There's a ride where you go into Godzilla's mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's intense.
Dude, crazy.
I can only imagine. But one of the trips, so she's like, I want to go somewhere like with the kids either on February break or April. And I told her, she gave me a couple of choices of what I thought. And I was like, we should just go back to Myrtle Beach because the girls will love it. They'll have the beach, whatever. She's like, we got to do it in April. Problem is, it's not really beach time down there in April. It's a little bit too early. So she made the call to do a trip that I'm blown away that she wants to do. She wants to go to Tennessee.
Okay.
She wants to go to Nashville for a couple of days, right? And then go to Chattanooga. And then where else? Where is Dollywood? Point. I
don't know. We could talk to my wife about that. She and her friends took a trip there a couple of years ago, just for Dollywood.
I forget.
They had a blast.
That's exactly it. She's like, yeah, I want to go to Dollywood. Like, I want to say, I forget the name of it. I'm gonna look it up on Google while I'm talking about this. But she came up with this this idea, and is it Cedar? No, not Cedar Point. Pigeon Forge. That's what it is. Pigeon Forge. So she wants to go to these 3 spots. And I'm like, okay, all right, we could do that. You know, the kids are psyched about going. But in Chattanooga, there's a freshwater aquarium, a fairly large one. Right along, I think it's right along the Tennessee River. And she says that she's interested in going. And I was like, listen, I got people in that part of the country. And if we're going to go, I'm going to bring a few rods. You know, I think I'm just going to have to. And if we're going to fly, I'm just going to buy a couple of rods. Like, I'm not flying with any of my stuff, you know. I'll bring a couple of reels, but whatever. And I think I'm going to have to hit up Slaunch Doctor. Get those boys to go and do a little bit of fishing. Because I'm like, there's no way I'm not going to fish in Tennessee. I'm like, I've connected and reached out to so many people from that area. I'm like, there's no way I'm not going to fish while I'm out there. No way.
Awesome.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens. She likes to make these plans, and then it's like we haven't booked anything, and it's like all of a sudden January, and we're like, oh shit, okay, we got to hustle or pull the plug on it, and most times we end up pulling the plug. But yeah, now she's like, yeah, we're going to fly to Japan. It's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay.
Wow. Nice. Well, awesome. Anyways, we wrapped up Duluth and then came home. And then today was day 2 of that little art festival. So I went fishing this morning. Once again, I found another little local lake that seems to be more of a big fish water. I guess the largemouth seemed to be coming out bigger than the lake that we're staying on. And the pike as well. Actually, I think 3 or 4 of the biggest pike I've caught this trip have all come out of that pond. Definitely the biggest, that 35-incher, that came out of this little, or not even pond. It's a lake. It's a small lake.
Yeah.
I guess. Oh, I don't know. We'd have to have a biologist define that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm like, what qualifies,
Yep. So yeah, but the problem with today was I didn't, for whatever reason, the other day I used my batteries up almost completely and I didn't recharge them. So I was flying blind today, which I haven't done in a while. I could do it. I mean, I caught plenty of fish. I just haven't done that in a while. So I did get a couple of upgrades. Again, this whole trip for me has been largemouth and pike. Yeah. I've been trying for smallmouth and trying for bowfin, and it's just not happened. There is apparently smallmouth in this lake. So when I got there this morning, first thing, there was a gentleman and his kids that were fishing at the launch, and I took their names down. I had 3 last Jigs and Big stickers on me. I gave it to him, and I said I would mention them on the show. So it was very nice to meet Dan and his sons Briggs and Kean, all from Pequot Lakes, Minnesota. That's the name of the town.
Lakes. Nice.
Pequot Lakes. So I'm a fan of Pequot Lakes because I keep driving out there. It's 1 or 2 towns over from where we're staying. It's really nice, man. It is quintessential Minnesota, and it's good stuff. And again, I got out there. I got another pike upgrade today. Seems to be a good abundance of 17 to 18-inch bass there, so I can't shake your nose at that.
No, that's awesome.
And it's all been deep. It's been really bizarre. I don't really remember ever catching pike this deep, 20 feet down, running. I mean, I'm literally letting the chatterbaits get to the bottom before I start working them.
Really?
I'm letting the line go completely slack. Sometimes the largemouth are hitting them on the way down. But I did that. And as far as this trip goes, I had a goal in mind on largemouth numbers, and I'm reaching them, which is good. And my goal is to be tomorrow's my last day to fish, to be a little bit of ahead where I was last year. But I digress. Did my fishing today, caught some largemouth, caught a couple more pike. And then we went out to the festival just for a real quick drive. It's like a 45-minute drive. Went out there, and Kari had, if I don't know if you saw on her Instagram, she had a post up of her little tent and area that she had set up with her gigantic eagle painting, the one that she asked for input on.
Yep.
That kind of led us all to this, the interview that we did with her. And she had a few prints up, and she's not only doing prints, but she's doing prints, like normal prints, plus 3-dimensional stretched prints, like it's on a canvas. So we picked up one of those. My wife loves her landscape work. So she does all her landscape. I don't know how you want to call it. I guess it is a landscape. So landscape, waterscape with the lake pictures, the
like
fish,
a skyline
the fish ones,
almost with the water in the foreground.
Exactly. Yep. The fish ones are really more up my alley, but my wife likes the landscape ones, and we picked up one of those prints, really nice. And she's also putting her prints on metal.
I saw that on her website. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we got to meet Kari. I'll throw I'll throw an Instagram post up later. I did get a couple pictures with her, and my wife, thank God, was there because we took a nice selfie. My wife said, "Wait a minute, all the porta potties are in the background." And we were like, "Oh, we got to move." So we got a nice selfie in front of the eagle picture instead of the porta potties that were there.
Where'd all these pelicans come from?
It smells like pelicans out here. So it was a great time. We got to meet Kari, talked with her for a little while. It's really good. It's one of those amazing things, man, where we've been doing this for year 2 now, and meet up with some of these people that we're just either collaborating with or interviewing. It's awesome.
Feature.
I may have another meetup on Tuesday. It's all going to depend on Chicago. So I have to reach out to that person, but they'll listen to this on Tuesday and they'll know by then.
Sweet.
So that was that. Like I said, I got one day to fish left here, and then there's some cleanup, and I got to go, and I'll be home to fish at home in the trifecta.
Get out on the salt.
Yeah, that's my week, my friend.
And one hell of a week. I mean, good stuff all around. Let's go ahead and get to it. We'll throw over to, we got a good message here from our friends over at Old Glory Outdoors. As always, you guys know that we're supported by Old Glory Outdoors, have been from very early on in this podcast. If you're looking to gear up and save a little bit of money, you can use our promo code Jigs and Bigs. Go ahead and check that out at oldgloryoutdoors.com. We'll be back right after this. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code Jigs and Bigs, and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan, "Start 'em young," to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code Jigs and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now. Hey guys, it's Bobby here. Just wanted to jump in and tell you that registration for our Jigs and Bigs Listeners Tournament for the month of July is officially open. Remember, all you got to do to register is download the Fishing Chaos app. Once that's downloaded, just search Jigs and Bigs. You'll find the July tournament there, and you can enter right there. Remember, we always try to put some proceeds toward a great charity. We'll be announcing who that charity is during the tournament on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Make sure to check it out. This is the nationwide multi-species fishing tournament, CPR style, brought to you by Jigs and Bigs. Check it out.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
It's so good. It's so good. Every single freaking time it just delivers. So
it doesn't stop being funny.
No, it doesn't. Like, I figured it would be a few episodes and we'd get used to it, but no, it's so good. In fact, Because I listen to this podcast back to double check like quality control, make sure like it sounds right and everything, the finished product. And I'll go back and listen to that 2 or 3 times, like usually post trivia, and just laugh my ass off. It's so good. I got to make that a buzzer at trivia. I think that's what it needs.
Before we start the tip,
Yeah.
I did receive a picture today from the originator of that fine clip. Mr. DeBari's up in New York again, and he didn't catch it, but he netted it for his buddy. They were out fooling around for trout and smallmouth, and he had a tiger muskie.
Really?
And it was big, too. It was definitely over 30 inches.
Dude, that's huge.
It was a beautiful fish. I turned my phone off. Otherwise, I'd send you a picture of it. It was,
send it to me after the show. That is, man.
Will do.
Dude, that is so freaking awesome. So this week's Just the Tip, I have one for you that is going to sound super basic. It really, really does. But I do feel like there are a bunch of anglers that are kind of getting to this point where maybe last year was their first year sort of like developing their passion for fishing, getting really into it. And the ones that kind of, carried through into this year, they're back at it. And maybe now they're getting things like their first bait caster or something like that. And I have the idea it actually just hit me today. I was looking at a Facebook group and I saw it's the same post, but I saw one that was posted earlier today and it basically read like, just got my first bait caster. What's the best line for it? And, if you're listening to this show and you've got questions about fishing line or anything like that, basically, really at the end of the day, I feel like you kind of have, it's sort of 3-part. First off, it's all about application. What's that for? It's your first bait caster. Yeah, but what is this for? What are you throwing? What's the purpose? Is this for topwater? Is this for, is it a crankbait rod? Is this sort of like a kitchen sink, like do it all type situation? What's it really, really for? And the real question is, if you're asking what's the best line for it, it's a lot of that comes down to preference and then budget. I think budget is the third thing. So my advice would be to anybody who's curious about different fishing line is don't look for one thing that's going to do everything for you. Lots of times that can really lead to trouble because then you're just using one type of line. And maybe different sizes, maybe different sizes for different things, but you're using one type of line and you're not using the best for the application. And then you got to look into preference, like what is it that you like? And I'll give you a couple of examples. So, for instance, if you're throwing something and it's topwater, you basically, and when I talk about line, I ignore copolymer line. It's just not something that I ever get into. So I'm looking at monofilament, I'm looking at 100% fluorocarbon and braided line. Those are the 3 basic lines that generally I think really any angler needs to be aware of. You start talking about copolymers or like different lines that are coated or have a core, like I've heard of lead core braid, stuff like that. That's a whole other animal, and you kind of want to like experiment on that on your own. But essentially, we're talking about monofilament, fluorocarbon, and braid. The general rule of thumb is really like if you're throwing topwater, you want to be throwing mono or braid because they float. Fluorocarbon sinks, and that's what. And the reason why a lot of folks utilize fluorocarbon is for that reason. When you're fishing with something that's subsurface and you don't want it to be seen, you use fluorocarbon because it's virtually invisible underwater. The other thing is it's a little bit more sensitive than monofilament. Monofilament has a lot more stretch. Fluorocarbon's kind of in the middle, and then braid has 0 stretch whatsoever. It's the most sensitive. But it's not always the best application. Some folks, and this is where preference comes in, some folks just love to use braid on everything because they love the sensitivity. For instance, I'll give you an example for me. On all my spinning reels, I use somewhere between 10 and 20 pound braid. I just like the way it behaves on the reel, on the spool with the way it falls off, and it's for me, it's just a preference. That's what it is, and I also have no issue with tying a leader and trusting that leader. But again, that's just me. There are other people that are like, they're gonna throw, straight mono or straight fluoro on their specific There's specific combos. Yeah, like you. And there's a lot of people that are like that. But again, on most of my bait casters, I generally run straight fluoro with the exception of my frogging rod and my frogging rod is my punching rig. It's the same. They're the same rod. Fast reel, 50-pound braid. Like that's what it is that I use. But it's when I'm using topwater. Well, basically, I want braid when I'm fishing topwater, or if I'm in heavy weeds, grass, stuff like that, because the braid is abrasive. It can cut a lot of that stuff right out. So it works really well. But like I've learned through some experience negatively, and from what I've heard from other anglers, when you're fishing timber, for example, fishing straight braid can be sort of a detriment. If you get wrapped around a piece of wood that's been sitting there and it's soggy, it's just going to saw right into that, and then that's where you're going to run into problems. So something like fluoro will work good for you in that type of situation. But again, a lot of this is just preference, but just know the characteristics of the lines, know what it is that you're ultimately trying to achieve with those lines, and then practice your knots so that if you're going to run braid and you want to run a leader, if your preference is that you want to use braid so that you can clip that leader off and use it for topwater, then cool. Hey, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But if you want to tie a leader, practice your knots, whatever knot it is that works for you. So that's pretty much it. It's just like, when I see that question all the time and I see there's usually like a few hundred comments of people saying the same thing. Well, what's the application? That's the key. What is the application? What are you going to be throwing? And really, that's where you have to kind of figure it out. If you want to reel like all in one, if you're going to buy one bait caster and you're looking to put one specific line on there to be able to do everything, you have a choice. I would say you either want to go with braid to a leader or go mono. Because if you want to be able to fish fluoro, or you're going to have to fish like top waters that you have to just, buzz across the top like buzz baits. Because you can fish a buzz bait with fluoro. I mean, it's possible. It's not an ideal situation, but that's the thing. It's if you want that flexibility, those are the two options that you kind of have to look at. But if you're like, I'm pretty much going to be throwing jigs and chatterbaits and Texas rigs and maybe the occasional weightless soft plastic or something like that, then you want to start considering fluoro, and then look at the weights of what you're throwing and the types of areas that you fish too.
And I think another thing we can throw in there too, yet another factor of doing your homework. And we talked about this while we were on break during the commercial, but you got to know your equipment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So two things. One, fluoro and mono will have line memory, braid doesn't. So where that comes into play is spinning reels, because you will get line twists with fluoro. Well, you'll get it with mono. You'll get it a lot more with fluoro. So you got to be prepared for that. Number two, during my little Minnesota adventure today, meeting Kari Townsend and going out to Walker. Remember when we interviewed her? She recommended a store. It was a Fleet Farm versus Reed's debate we had.
That's right. And she was like, because you would ask about Fleet Farm, and she was like, no, up here it's Reed's country.
Holy God, I went to Reed's today.
Oh, really?
I am impressed with Reed's. So really? I must say this. Coming off the heels of an Old Glory commercial. East of the Mississippi, I am Old Glory. West of the Mississippi, that Reed's. That is
Reed's something else. But like Reed's also has like a bunch of stuff under one roof too. Like isn't Reed's the type of place where you can get your fishing gear, your hunting gear, and like a lawnmower?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see any lawnmowers. This is all outdoor stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There might have been an upstairs or something, but no, Reed's was phenomenal. I don't even know if there's a chain. I have no idea. But this store was something else.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
We went there today, and let me take a step back. Do you know what my rods consist of up here? Have I ever explained what my 5 rod setup is up here? It just happens to be 5.
No. I have you might have gone through it a little bit, but go ahead for the listeners.
This believe it or not, this is actually going to come around to knowing your gear to pick your line. I have a pike setup which is a medium heavy pike rod with a huge butt. I mean, the butt itself is probably 1.5 feet long. With an old Abu Garcia Ambassador round bait caster. That was the first bait caster I learned to throw, and I still keep one just for pike.
Oh, really?
So I have that with straight 20-pound fluorocarbon on there and Vizex, because that's all I use. I have a spinning combo, which I'm fooling around and trying to get the right diameter of line. Right now I'm using 15-pound fluoro on it because I throw a lot of Ned rigs and worms, and honestly, 10's great, 12's great, but the pike go through the 10 and the 12 way too quick. Mm-hmm. So I went up to 15. We're experimenting there.
Gotcha.
I have a frog rod, which is a St. Croix Mojo and a Lew's fast reel of some sort. I think it's a speed spool. I think I went cheap on those. And I think I have 50-pound braid on that. Here's where things get a little weird. Have I told you of my past affinity for micro guides and their sensitivity?
Oh, yeah.
I used to use them exclusively, but I was having some problems with the inserts of the brand I was using.
Yep.
Well, one day at home, I went to Walmart in, I don't even remember where it was, Chicopee or Westfield. I can't remember. They had a clearance bin of fishing rods. I bought 3 Halo micro guide rods. 2 of them are medium, one of them medium heavy, all 3 7 foot, and they're micro guides. And I totally, because I haven't used these rods in a couple of years, yep. I'm like falling in love with them again.
Really?
Because they're so sensitive. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how sensitive these rods are. So I've been catching a lot of fish with them. It's what I've been throwing all the bladed jigs on. And yep. Surprisingly, I really haven't caught a lot of fish on crankbaits this trip, but the bladed jigs have been seeing a lot of use. And for the heavier worms I've been throwing with extra wide gap, what do they call them, rugby and football jig heads. I've been throwing 3/4 or 1/2 ounce jig heads with 4-inch yum dingers, and it's been doing some serious damage.
Really?
But I've been able to, throw that on the heavier, the medium heavy combo with 20-pound fluoro. When I went to Reed's with this in mind, and their knowledgeable staff, I mean, was kind of incredible. I just said, "Hey, look, I'm looking for bass rods that are micro guides, casting rods." That guy looked at me and said, "Yep, right here." Brought me right over. I didn't realize Lew's was still making them.
Really?
Lew's makes them. Oh, yeah. So he said, "Check these out. They were a certain kind." I was blown away, and I said, "Thanks. It's for future reference." So, I was pretty blown away with Reed's. They know their stuff. That was a really, really good store.
That's awesome.
When I don't have Old Glory right next door, Reed's, if I'm in Minnesota, Reed's is the place.
So I did discover there's only 2 locations.
Oh, Walker and
there's one that they call the Mille Outpost, which is in, I think it's Onamia.
Yeah, I'll never see that place, but I'll have you know.
Well, it's funny because they have on the roof of the building there is a giant pelican with like a. I'm making that up. That's a lie.
Well, just so you know, I did pick up a little gift for you, Bobby.
Oh no! Why?
In that town, Onomatopoeia or whatever it's called.
Onomatopoeia?
I know. I'm being facetious. It's actually very nice, and everyone I spoke to in the town was very nice. I got you a bag of Wisconsin cheese curds, my man.
Oh yes.
So that's where I got the cheese curds. I didn't buy no Target ones for you,
dude. I'm glad you mentioned that because this almost got right by me. Somebody had messaged us. I'm going to go and try and find this message right now.
You find it. I'm going to wrap up what I'm saying. So
go
the
for
point
it.
is on those micro guides. What I learned a long time ago is micro guides are great. They do not handle braid very well at all. So knowing your gear is very important. Spinning reels, you might have problems with fluoro. Micro guide rods, whether they're spinning or casting, I wouldn't recommend braid. They don't handle it very well, especially braid with leaders because the knots don't go through those things very well. I learned some harsh lessons with that. So know your gear is adding to just the tip, and I think we can put a wrap on that, huh?
Yeah. No. I think that's important no matter what. Like you got to know what you're doing, and I mean the application is really important. I mean. It doesn't mean that you won't catch fish if you're, you know what I'm saying? Like you can catch fish on anything. Let's be honest. Like fishing around the world takes various forms, but with what we're talking about, when it comes to the sensitivity, the specific characteristics of fishing line. You just want to know what it is. If nothing else, you want to know what it is that you're using so you can compensate for it. If you're using the wrong stuff, you can at least then know how that's acting in the water. And, maybe cast a little further in order to compensate for it, or position your boat differently so that you can access it. Knowledge is half the battle. That's ultimately, I think, what it gets down to.
There's a saying I like using that you've heard before. You can put a screw in with a hammer. It's a lot easier with a screwdriver.
It's true. It's 100% true. So it's no secret. We have the greatest listening audience and the greatest followers on our social media ever. And this is the kind of shit that makes me love our listeners and followers. Wayne Fairfax sent me a DM. This was just Friday night. Friday afternoon, in fact, and it was a link from a Facebook post from Mountain View Restaurant, and he leaves a little note here. He goes, "I remembered you guys talking about cheese curds on an episode, and I thought that maybe you might want to check this out." So I looked into this link, Mountain View Restaurant, 2 days ago. This was Friday. They put a post up. It says, "Don't let a little hurricane stop you. It's a great day to stop in and grab yourself our newest addition to the menu, smoked pork belly bites and cheese curds. And wash it down with an ice cold brew. Nothing like brew and barbecue. And these curds. This restaurant is in Hamden, Massachusetts."
Are they fried?
They are fried, but I don't know the particulars. I don't know exactly. We got to look into this. We'll figure out the details. We'll see they look goddamn delicious.
Cheese curds, of course they do.
Dude, but the pork belly bites, come on. Pork belly's amazing.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. Mountain View Restaurant. So we're going to have to, again, this is, I know WWLP Channel 22 says this working for you. Bullshit. Jigs and Bigs is working for you. We're going to go and taste all the foods. We're going to taste all the foods and let you know, the listener.
We're going to taste all the foods and Sean's going to die doing it. It's going to be fucking great.
Sean's going to be sitting there like, "Hey, what's going on over there?" And I'll be like, "I can't believe I ate the whole thing."
Dude, you know what I was thinking about today when I was in the boat too, because I'm a fat guy and I think about food.
Yep.
You and I are going to have to take a Jigs and Bigs trip to the Big E this year and just revel in the fucking debauchery.
I think so.
For those of you listening outside of New England, hell, even outside of Massachusetts, half the states don't pay attention to this shit in New England. The Big E is our quote unquote county fair. It's supposed to encompass all of New England. Mm-hmm. It's a Massachusetts thing, really. Connecticut gets involved too.
They have some special days, but yeah, you don't get people from northern Maine coming down to get crazy, throw down a couple turkey legs and a baked potato the way you get someone from Westfield.
Yeah, exactly. It's mainly a Western Mass thing, but boy, oh boy, do people come out from under rocks? Do creatures come out for these things?
And they are creatures.
Hey, did I tell you I saw there a couple of years ago? It was awesome. They get their it was one of the free shows. I know the whole band is not there. It was probably I think it was 2/5 of the classic lineup, but Blue Oyster Cult played.
That's freaking great, dude. Did I ever tell you who the last concert was that I saw at the Big E?
No.
Ice motherfucking Tea.
Ooh, good one.
It was so good, man. It was so good.
Was that a pay show?
That one was a pay show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was
two
a
stages.
Pay show.
One's for pay and one's for free. Well, BOC was free and they played all the hits, man. We got Godzilla, Reaper, fucking my personal favorite, Cities Aflame with Rock and Roll. Oh my God. It was great.
It's funny. You mentioned earlier, you're like, oh yeah, I don't listen to music or listen to stuff while I'm fishing. I have really taken a deep dive. I haven't pulled a plug yet on the Bluetooth speaker that I want to run on the kayak, and that's mainly because I want to find out in the Titan where the best place is to put this and have it run to power. This is going to be a whole other modification. I have been taking and just using the speaker on my phone and leaving the phone in one of my pockets of my tackle bag and putting on whatever playlist. And I was listening to It was a playlist. It was a dead playlist, actually, on Spotify. And when it runs out, they just sort of say, like, random, like, oh, you might like this. You might like this. It's part of the reason why I love Spotify is they're just, and they're pretty solid. They really are. And there was a couple of Blue Oyster Cult tunes that came on, and I was just like, really? This is great. I got to give them another like solid look through.
You're very lucky because when I get to the end of my playlist and it says you might like this, it goes from like, 20-year-old Swedish death metal to Bruno Mars.
Yep.
Every time. Like I just, what is happening? How would you think I like this? Yeah. I'm good. Like what is happening? Top 40 pop from, In Flames, At the Gates. And then I get top 40.
Then you're like Taylor Swift.
Here's some Paula Abdul.
Yeah. Paula Abdul. Both are great music to listen to while you're like, eating pills like Pez. Whatever, I mean, it is what it is. I'm such a piece of shit. I am such a piece of shit. Oh, God. But, yeah, I mean, that went off the rails. But I feel like that was a great I appreciate Wayne messaging us with this information because, like I said, cheese curds. And actually, to follow up on more cheese curds business, I had a conversation with Caitlin over at Plan B. Cheese curds haven't been on the menu at Plan B in years.
Yeah.
So long that she has never seen them on the menu, and she's been there for like 5 years. So
I'm wondering if, they had that big menu change?
Yep.
All right. One of my favorite items was lost off that menu. Do you remember the burger known as the New Englander?
You know what? I remember seeing it. I've never had it, though.
Dude, it was a hunk of bison.
Yep.
With an entire lobster claw. And then I forget the cheese at this point, but it wasn't something normal. It was a different cheese, but it was one of my favorites. It was shit. I can't remember.
It was shit.
Yeah, shit cheese. It was Pelican cheese. So yeah, so that burger was phenomenal. I can't remember the cheese that was on there. I just remember, dude, it was a lobster claw. It was a whole claw.
So
Gouda. It was smoked Gouda.
It was smoked Gouda.
Yeah, on top of a lobster claw, on top of bison, and then there was some sort of aioli on there. It was phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah, and they took it off the menu. I'm sure they were losing thousands of dollars for every sandwich.
Every sandwich that went out, I'm sure it was just like, why are we doing this? Stop.
The manager would wince. And then he would steal people's laptops. I'm sorry, Kurt.
Oh, Kurt.
Yeah. But so I'm wondering if that was a loss before or after the New Englander went down as well.
Could have been. It could have been. That's interesting. I was just one of those. I was surprised. I was like, really? I feel like I've seen them recently, but again, I'm old and things go right over my head sometimes. So, it is what it is.
Speaking of right over your head, where's my music?
Oh, your music. Let me go ahead.
Where's
and cue
my
up
music?
The tournament. Here we go.
The tournament. That's my music. That's what I like. We are halfway through week 2 of the Jigs and Bigs tournament for July. It has been exciting. And you predicted it. A lot of people jumped in on week 2.
Yeah.
You and I was kind of raising an eyebrow at how few people there were, and not few. It was, it was lower than last time. Enough for me to raise an eyebrow after week 1, and then just a flood of people came in week 2 and said we want in. And all right, that works for me. So I posted an update, 2-3 days ago? You remember when I did it? Yep. I don't remember these things. Time has stood still in central Minnesota, which is wonderful. And at the time of that posting, I believe I had just slipped into second place behind, guess who? Jerry House.
Yeah.
Yep. So I have the standings from that day, which is Jerry leading with 22 points, myself right behind him at 20, and then Eric Graves, Gravy Fishing, third place with 12. After that, it's a big cluster with Sticky Fred, Chris DeBari. We got Dylan Barber, who jumped in late, Mike Trzynski, Nelson's back there, and Ryan Manners. And those numbers are all going to change. Ryan put up the biggest largemouth of the tournament to this point. He broke 21 inches.
Oh, wow.
We had another entry. Oh God, I forgot her last name. Kristen jumped in. and she's got a bowfin on the board, which I immediately said is making me jealous. And I will note this: if you are going to turn in a bowfin, there is no bowfin on the pull down. It's labeled as Northern Snakehead.
Yeah.
I'm working with Kristen right now to fix that. I actually just sent her a text about half an hour before we started. I'm assuming when I turn my phone back on, we'll have some sort of resolution there. But if you look in the NE5, she's got a bowfin there. She didn't know how to put it in for bowfin, so I had to fix that. Yeah, if anybody's turning in a bowfin, Northern Snakehead, please. So yeah, it's been this week's been a lot of fish, man. I can speak on my own behalf. I've been padding
Yep.
my slight lead over Jerry in the NE5 category because I hooked into another 2 foot long plus pike. It was 25. This is 25 inches this morning. And those are the fish that the 35s win in the category, but all 5 pike that I have in the NE5 are over 20. So that's, one of these things that we always see during this tournament is that the winner, I don't think a winner between us and Chronic Trips has not had at least 100 inches in the NE5.
Yeah, I think usually that's a major factor.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you see. You don't have to win every category. You don't have to put a fish in every category. But so far, everybody crashes 100 on the NE5. It's something you got to do.
Yep.
So if you're in the Northeast, you got to go after big pickerel. If you're in the Midwest, you got to go after pike. If you're in the South, you got choices. You got all sorts of gar, catfish, whatever. But fill the category and then work on that NE5 and roll with it. So yeah, it's been a really exciting tournament so far. We've seen a lot of fish and a lot of big fish too. So the next time we talk, we'll be halfway through it, and I'll have more. But everybody, keep up the good work.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been looking at the leaderboards on different species here and there, and it's been good, and we're only getting started. We're not even halfway through the month, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not too late to jump in too. This thing is not over. Remember, this is a bizarre tournament.
Yep.
Bizarre. I love it. It's an original Sean the Fisherman idea where you get to bone your competitors. So even if you come in late, just like the last Chronic Trips, I was out. I was done. I was not winning. I kept fishing just to try and screw over Nate Shagnon.
Yeah.
You can play spoiler in this one because as you get points, you take points from leaders.
Yeah.
And that's brutal. That's cold. It's cold-blooded.
So what you guys got to do if you want to get involved is download the Fishing Chaos app right now and just search Jigs and Bigs, and you'll see the July tournament pop right up. You can enter right through there. Once you're entered in, you'll have access to the identifier. You'll need the identifier in order to enter fish. This is CPR style. So what you're doing is you're going to need an approved measuring board, which is essentially you're going to need a catch board, either the plastic carbonite or the aluminum board, and you'll be taking pictures and measuring the length of your fish. We've got the full rules available there. We recommend everybody take a gander at the rules, know what you're dealing with, and jump in, have a great time. It's a whole lot of fun, and I'm excited about this. I'm really excited about this. I think this month has been great.
I did redo the rules we're learning Fishing Chaos.
Of course.
I'm learning using it. I had to repost them because I did have a question about them saying, hey, I couldn't see the rules with somebody who entered. And I said to myself, well, that's funny. I copied the tournament as it was. The rules didn't carry over. I actually had to reload those.
Oh,
so
okay.
I went and did. I didn't know. Now I know. Now I know I have to reload the rules. So I did adjust the rules. We remember when we did the last one, we did allow hog troughs.
Yes, we did.
They're still allowed. Yeah, we're good with that. We're not. Maybe next year we go full catch, whatever.
Yeah.
But I did make sure because I've been using one, and this does help with fish that are longer than 32 inches. Their catch makes a foldable. If you can find it, I okayed that because I bought one, and before I took any pictures with it, I actually measured the break.
Yeah.
To make sure that there was no way to BS. So as long as the cradle that these catch boards come with is properly slid between the two segments, that is an even measurement and everything goes forward. If I see someone that's bending one or something, then things are going to get a little
that's different, but you can see
gray.
That.
A little sketchy. But no, everybody's been doing a really good job. The mouths have been closed. Thank you so much. No, it's been a really, really great tournament. Everyone's really stepped up their game for this one. And I will make note, I just checked real quick. So I had passed 100 inches at the beginning of the week. I mean, honestly, second day of the tournament, which catching a shit ton of pike. Why would I not?
Yeah, exactly. It comes with the territory.
It looks like today that 25-incher put me over 200. So.
Oh, no kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's where the speed comes in, ladies and germs. You gotta, if you want to get up those 100, 200, 300 inch increments, you gotta be quick because the 100 falls in the first couple days. The last one we did, didn't Jeremy Andrews knock it out in the first day?
I think it was in the first day.
It was
first day, or if it wasn't, it was like he was at like 90 something the first day, and then the second day he topped it. So
one of the two. But you got to get on top of it. If you're looking at the 100, 200, 300, well, the mythical 300, that's it's been broken. Did it get broken? It got broken by Brant.
It's the 400 that hasn't been broken yet in the jigs and bigs, and for whatever
the
reason, the 300 in the chronic trips, which is bizarre. But
that's just, I don't know. At some point, whether it's this summer or next summer,
it's gonna
I'm expecting Nelson to tee up a bunch of sharks, and that's going to be the end of it.
He's gonna.
I don't understand how it's lasted this long.
He's going to go out and get like some giant tuna or like some great whites or something like that, like just absolute behemoths.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to picture him on a beach going, "What, me?" And he's going to have like 4 versions of Jaws out on the. I just hit 1,000 inches. Cool.
Yep. So my pike barrage ended the 200, and like I said, Jerry's leading the whole shebang, but I'm close.
Yeah.
So now I got to get home and fill in some blanks. I got to get a smallmouth. I got to get a yellow perch. I lucked into a crappie the other day, so that was kind of nice. But hey, jump in. It's not too late, folks. We're having a blast. This is fun.
Just as a reminder, too, I mentioned the identifier earlier, and this sucks because the same thing happened to me on Saturday. But Eric Graves had his identifier fall in the water, and it's sunk on him, so he wasn't able to enter his fish. If you keep a marker on you, just write the identifier on your hand and put your hand in the picture.
I am acceptable. Fine with that.
Yeah.
As long as the identifier is somewhere, it's been hands. People are taking a sheet of paper. I don't care as long as it's legible somewhere. I think I had one problem where it was legible last time, and I had to say, come on, there's no way I can read this. There was one letter cut off. I felt bad. I always feel bad about it. I have a conscience. I did have to DQ a fish today. It was I can't tell if the person had a bad grip or was trying to keep their hand over the bass's eye to keep it calmed down.
Yeah.
But their pinky was stretched out over the eye. And it was like perfect. I'm like, it says in the rules, you can't cover the eye. I can't do anything about this. So, so one fish out of, what are we at? We're getting close to like 75 or 80 or 100 or something?
78 right now, and there's 22 anglers entered. So, go ahead and we hit 50 last time. So go ahead and jump on and get to it. It's going to be pretty awesome. And we're going significantly harder with the prizes this time. We're going hard.
Yep. And don't forget, we're 2 weeks in. We're not even 2 weeks, 2 full weeks in. We're on week 2. Brant Rowland sacrificed 2 weeks last tournament, won it and broke 300 inches in 2 weeks. So it can be done.
Definitely. You could come into this tournament during the final week and just spank everybody. Like Sean said, the only things that you may not, if they've already been won, are those 100 and 200 inch marks, something like that. But, if you put a hurting on in that, and you have a great stretch, or maybe you've been trailing behind this whole time, like me, and, you're like, hey, I haven't got on any decent fish, or the things haven't worked, just keep plugging away at it, and you can, all it takes is one outing.
Yep.
You can have that day and then boom,
That's it. I'm telling you,
One thing, we do have a couple things to go through, but one thing I do want to mention here is in this show, you're not going to hear a fuck that guy segment this week because seemingly everybody was pretty much on their best behavior, at least to a point where it didn't warrant us saying fuck that guy. So I want to throw this out as a call, guys. If somebody has done you dirty on the water, let tell Bobby. DM us at Jigs and Bigs on Instagram or email us at jigsandbigs413@gmail.com. You can even just go to jigsandbigs.com and use the contact form right there and get in touch with us. So if anybody's kind of done you wrong or you have a bone to pick with somebody that was fishing related, let us know. We'll be glad to feature that situation on our Fuck That Guy segment. Or even better, if you go to jigsandbigs.com, you can leave a voice recording. If you got a gripe, you've got 60 seconds to sound off, and we will use that recording on the show. So go ahead, jigsandbigs.com, leave us a message right there. There's a big orange button. You can't miss it.
We talked about it before we went on air, and I actually had so many candidates just from rec boaters that it wasn't even worth it. There was too many. So, yeah. Sorry, guys. I know this segment's popular, but we need your involvement too.
Well, and I think that honestly, for a lot of it, I think most of the potential candidates that had come out were either not severe enough to make the segment or had already been mentioned. Like, we've already talked about like how rec boaters or, ramp etiquette, that's a big one. We had that was just last week. Shit like that. So it's just like, if there's somebody that's done you dirty and it's something that we already had, we're still going to use yours because your story is unique. But for us to just go on and be like, fuck jet skis. We've established that already. Fuck jet skis.
Yeah, I mean, we're really at this point. I mean, jet skis we know about. We just, I guess, what do we need more animal mutilations? What?
If that's the road we're going down, I mean, I guess. Yikes.
Yeah.
Fuck. Actually, we could have talked about the Pelicans actually in the Fuck This Guy segment.
Fuck those Pelicans.
Fuck those Pelicans.
Now let's call him out. Did Berkshire Brett ever leave that voice message? Because he's got a good F this guy and
he's got a
F
good
that
one.
guy. And we just we just never heard from Brett. Come on, Brett. It's a minute of your time, dude. This is like the line in the sand. Like, we could easily, I think I have the text. I'm not reading it. We asked Brett to record it.
We're awful. I love it. I love it though. Another thing that we got to mention is so our homies, our friends in life and in fishing, Hookset Hoodlums are having an amazing giveaway. You guys definitely want to pay attention to this because it all happens. So we're recording this now just to pull back the beef curtain a little bit. We're recording all of this on Sunday night. Tomorrow, Monday morning, this launches. The giveaway launches. What you basically have, you can win here is pretty awesome. They've got a Lose Mach 2 spinning reel up for grabs. I have this reel. I love this spinning reel. It is a great. This is probably on my short list of go-to reels. It's fantastic. There is an Igloo retro blue and pink cooler. This cooler is so badass. It's great. And when it's the retro one with the two handles that go up over each side. It's freaking awesome. You're going to love this thing. So it comes with the reel, the cooler. There's a Hookset Hoodlums, the Vice shirt, which is that, it's like a beachy kind of blue, shirt with the pink, font says Hookset Hoodlums. Very slick looking shirt.
Very reminiscent of an 80s cop drama set in Miami.
Yes, 100%. And they're out of my size. I just ordered a bunch of stuff and they're out of my size. Although they have this new design, this pink with their new Hookset Hoodlums logo on there that I picked up. So I'm trying to dress it up and keep it classy. You get 5 bags of Hookset Hoodlum baits. So you get, the wild worms, you get the dreamers, and you get the galaxy worms, plus the secret baits. The baits that pissed off some people in the industry. You know what I'm saying? You get some of those too. And then we have there's a whole cache of like Hookset Hoodlum stickers that are available as well. So all you got to do to go ahead and enter this is go and obviously follow Hookset Hoodlums on Instagram. But the contest will be launched there. It's going to be the same thing as normal. You got to you got to comment and tag some friends, and I think you got to share it as well. Do all that stuff. You'll be entered in there. And if by chance you're listening to this before it actually drops on Monday, I don't think that's possible that you're going to listen to this, but anybody who had the opportunity over the weekend to make a purchase at hooksethoodlums.com, that's basically an early entry and it triples your chances to win. So good stuff. So check that out. Hookset Hoodlums giveaway happens on Monday. If you're listening to the show on Tuesday, get over to Hookset Hoodlums on Instagram now and enter that contest. You're gonna love it.
to give the Hookset Hoodlums a little more love, whether deserve it or not. Did you see their two new designs? One of them is a tank top, and the other one's a t-shirt.
Yes, I did.
I like both.
Yeah,
I do. I'm digging both. The t-shirt in particular is the Frogs and Hogs blue t-shirt.
Yep. I almost bought that one. Instead, I bought the pink one.
Oh, okay. The Vice.
I went with the pink one.
What did the tank top say?
The tank top, what did that tank say? Let me look them up.
Something about Andrew and Ken not paying their servants.
That's terrible.
I know.
Oh, no, you know what it was? Oh, that's freaking so awesome. So the Hookset Hoodlums tank has the... it says "Born to Fish." It's got the helmet from. It's so awesome. From what was
it's a parody of Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what the back has on it, but it's pretty awesome. I'm not much of a tank guy, too often, but this is pretty badass. Yeah, the shirt that I got was the "Line It, Bait It, and Launch It." With with that funky sort of new school Hookset Hoodlums logo.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, they've done a really good job with their designs lately.
Yeah,
so
they look great, man. They look really, really great. I also ordered a couple of stickers too. Some of the old school 6-inch Hookset Hoodlums logo ones. I figured I gotta put some of those in a kayak and the trailer. Definitely got to do that. Got to make it all look good. And then of course this weekend is Trifecta. And Trifecta's down at Three Bells Outfitters. This is a 3-day long tournament, saltwater kayak tournament. You're definitely going to want to get involved with this. Definitely going to want to get involved with this. For the entry price alone, for the swag bag of stuff that you'll get in the kickback, plus the raffle entries, you got to be a part of this tournament. It's absolutely going to be fan-freaking-tastic. Check out Trifecta. Check it out at Three Bells Outfitters. They've got all the details in there. Look at it on. It's Fishing Chaos, right, Sean?
It is.
It is Fishing Chaos.
One big thing to keep in mind on this tournament, it is no bait allowed. It is artificials.
No bait.
Artificials. No live or dead bait. Artificials.
All artificials. So, I mean, on the one hand, you might, if you're a bait fisherman typically and you don't use artificials, maybe you may be outside of your element, but really everybody's on the same page. So,
yep,
all good. Oh, good shit. Good shit. Well, that about brings us to the end of the. Oh, wait, do we have more? Or are you just stretching out your neck?
I popped my neck.
I was like, what? And actually, in the with the shitty internet connection and the Zoom video, it looked kind of like that Tool video for Undertow. I think Sean disappeared for a moment into the freaking ether. All right. Anyway, guys, we're going to be right back with more after this quick word from our good friends at Three Bells Outfitters. Trifecta's happening this weekend. Definitely get in touch with Three Bells. Download Fishing Chaos. Search for Trifecta on Fishing Chaos and enter. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. We'll be right back after this. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worry the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Biggs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water. Hey, what's up, guys? Bobby Roast Beef here, and we have a brand new interview segment for you this week. A great one. In fact, two guests from they're representing Naqua Adventure Gear. We have Billy Rossini. He is the Naqua CEO and president. We also have Heidi Klein, who is sales and office manager over at Naqua. How you guys doing today?
Great.
Doing awesome. Thanks for having us.
That's awesome.
Recovering from a great 4th of July holiday.
It was one crazy weekend. That is for sure. Hope you guys had a good one. Of course, I've got Sean the Fisherman with me, and I'm going to pass things over to him so he can kind of lay down some of the framework of how this interview all kind of came together and exactly how all this was. In fact, it was Sean that kind of introduced me to Naqua and the amazing line of products that Naqua has.
Hey, good morning, Heidi and Billy. How are you guys?
Great.
I'm still dealing with the awesome internet out here in central Minnesota. So I apologize if there's a little bit of a lag, but we'll get through it. We're professionals.
That's it.
So you guys are doing well. It's good here. Happy 4th to everybody. And I just wanted to kind of talk first about how really I came across Naqua. I know you guys are both new to listening to the show. I think I spoke with Heidi. I think she researched a little bit before you guys came on, which is smart to do. You don't want to walk into anything. I mean, you never know when we're going to start asking questions about, I don't know, fried chicken or something else. You never know. But a few years back, the first kayak I had with a fish finder, and it was my Cobra Fish and Dive. And it's big kayak, and it has a huge storage well for, you can use up to scuba tanks with those things. They're really stable, and they're obviously made for both fishing and diving. So one night, I had taken my battery out, my big sealed lead acid 12-volt battery. What do those things weigh? About 3 pounds. I had put it in the back seat of my Tacoma, and it was like 3 a.m. when we were unloading to go striper fishing in the Connecticut River. And I don't know what I grabbed, but the battery came with it, and the corner of the battery landed directly in the center of my foot. And my foot, I thought it was broken. I was broken. I don't ever remember feeling that kind of foot pain in my life. And it stayed bruised for about 2 weeks. It was awful. But from that point on, from the minute that thing hit my foot, I was now looking for alternatives to those batteries. And that was probably 10 years ago. About 3 years ago, I came across your products. And since then, the battery game for me has changed, because your products are just so light, compact, and they last, not forever, but they last forever. So I love using them. From the moment I found them, I've been recommending them to people. And of course, one of the people that I recommended them to was Rachel, RJW at Marine World, My Marine World. I always screw that up. I'm so sorry, Rachel. I know she's listening now. So Rachel is a great sounding board for stuff that she likes. So when I talked to her about setting up her fish finder on her kayak, I recommended getting an Naqua and then using the conversion kit, which I actually did a Zoom call with her and helped her install it from Massachusetts to New Jersey, where she's at. And she loves it to death. And as we've all seen on her social media pages, she really loves it. And she's been working with you guys, the past couple months. And from that point, I just said, I'd love to. She had mentioned that, Heidi, she told you the story of, the Zoom call and me helping her set it up. And then you and I started talking, and next thing you know, here we are. So I'm going to drop it back to Bobby or you guys, whoever. And that's really how we got here. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy with your products, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I loved how the whole meeting came about too with Rachel, because I kind of had recognized that she had been supporting our product too on social media, and I thought it was a pretty cool connection. And she's been so awesome for the past couple months, and just putting a whole pro staff team together finally for NACWA has been pretty cool. And it's cool to hear that you helped her rig up her kayak from Minnesota, and she's in New Jersey. So we have this team now all across the U.S. Pro staff members, and Rachel's one of the awesome ones. So I think my headphones are going in and out here. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Wanted to
we
make
can
sure.
hear you.
Okay.
Yep, oh, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So just with that being said, we've been very lucky to meet a great group of people recently, and when meeting Rachel and going through this whole social media process of putting together a team, it wasn't about who we could find that had the most likes or followers, but just unique individuals who were very passionate about the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was time for, just having Rachel as a female presence too in the industry. She's incredible as just supportive, and just seeing her passion as far as the sport goes and getting out there. And I think I told you, Sean, before, I've never gone kayak fishing in my life. So I grew up on the water, but I've never sat in a kayak and gone fishing. So I'm hoping that is something, and I even told Rachel, I'm already planning for her to come down to visit us in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Nice.
That, hey, that might be something I would love for her to, take me out and, teach me. So.
That's awesome. I love it when this stuff kind of comes together. That's one thing that I got to say. Rachel is, she's an amazing influencer. She does a great job. When she's passionate about a company, she really gives it her all. There's a lot of integrity with her. I appreciate a lot of what she does. Rachel Walka probably doesn't realize this, but she still has the most listened to episode of our podcast. Ever, which is pretty amazing, because now we're coming up on about 70 episodes, and she's got the most listened to one. So the hats off to her. She's great. Thank you, Rachel.
That's awesome.
Now, why don't you guys?
The lag got me. Hey, Heidi, just one quick thing on that. So the Zoom call with Rachel was Massachusetts to New Jersey. I'm currently out in central Minnesota with my lagging internet because I married a Minnesota girl, and she drags me kicking and screaming into this lake-filled state every year. And, what I lose in internet, I gain in largemouth and northern pike. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Let's shift gears, guys. Let me throw it over to Billy and Heidi. Tell me a little bit how NACWA came to be. Generally, I find that with various companies and specific products, there's a need somewhere, and someone's there to design or adapt an existing product in a way to sort of fit the changing technology or the usage. How did NACWA become a thing, so in air quotes?
So my background is is my audio coming through okay?
Yep, absolutely fine.
Okay, great. So my background, it was 20 years in professional water sports, where I was competing in wakeboarding, kneeboarding, and hydrofoiling. And when we were doing that, or when my participation in that sport, part is obtaining sponsorships and designing products for them to help the sport excel. So throughout that 20-year history, I got into just really enjoying developing cool products and eventually wanting to do it for myself. I had the opportunity to go paddleboarding down in Key West at night one time, and it was just a full moon paddle. And I paddled up next to a couple of yachts that had underwater lighting, and thought, wow, it'd be amazing if my board could emit light similar to this. So I went into the drawing board, and probably 200 prototypes later, came out with an underwater lighting system for kayaks and paddleboards. And part of that was developing a battery, because I couldn't find one out on the market, developing a battery with a manufacturer that specialized in waterproofing and durability and things like that. So we had this initial product launch in about 2013 of our underwater lighting systems, and everybody thought they were going to get, or all the responses were, oh, you're going to get eaten by a shark. But that didn't happen, and we started to grow this brand. and I was running into kayak fishermen, and they were looking at this battery saying, "Hey man, this thing's 12 volt." At that time, they were 4.4 amp hours, so they weren't as big as the 10, but they were getting a awesome amount of runtime using it. So I was looking at other products out on the market, and I noticed that when you had to buy a lead acid battery, then you had to get a charger with it and the component cables and all the things to connect to your fish finder. I thought, let's just make a kit that has everything that you need and just see what happens. And now it's, I fast forward 7 years later, and we have this 10 amp battery, a bunch of accessories, and Heidi building this amazing team to help support our company. So it's one of those things I say as an entrepreneur, you always have to keep your eyes open and learn how your product might adapt into other categories, rather than just staying, hyper focused into that, your initial launch.
I'm looking at the Nockwell website right now, and if anybody is listening and they're wondering, they're like, what does this look like with the lighting underneath? There's an amazing picture. It looks like they're in a cave. There's about a dozen or so paddle boarders standing on their boards with their paddles over their heads, and the water is illuminated from underneath them. It's pretty slick. I may have to have a conversation with Derek at Three Bells about adding some of this to my native Titan. Because that's pretty dope.
It is. Heidi and I went out paddling last night. It's funny, people think we go all the time, but we went out last night, and it's amazing on a calm night, glassy water. It's cooler out, but the interaction you get with marine life, even on a lake, is unbelievable. So it's neat to show the lighting to kayak fishermen, and also we get some that crossover into the lighting on the lighted paddleboard side of people learning about this industry of kayak fishing and wanting to do the same. So it's fun to share both.
That's awesome. And also, I could definitely see it as somebody who might be out kayak fishing at night. If you have the water at least around your boat, glowing essentially, that might help you detect a moving, a strike, because you can see the line up against that illuminated surface of the water, so there's definitely a benefit there. I'm in the process right now of rigging up a pretty amazing boat from Native. And I didn't realize I thought going into this that I wasn't going to need much for power. And then as I was talking with Derek over at Three Bells, he's handling all of the rigging and everything. We're talking about all this stuff, and I realized that for kayak anglers these days, the demand for power is unbelievably high. I mean, the obvious one to go to is, any fish finders, sonar equipment, anything like that. But, if you're going to run any lighting, or now you have a lot of folks that run GoPro cameras, action cameras to capture these catches and document what they're doing. And let's be honest, the GoPro batteries are terrible. And the last thing you want to do is be out on the water and have to, get up on your kayak, grab a camera, change out a battery. If nothing else, you're wasting a lot of time. Being able to rig your boat and then run this stuff off of the in-house power on your boat, and use something as small as these Nockwell batteries, it's a home run, I think, for anybody.
It was that was a big part of developing the accessories that attach to the battery, is from listening to anglers and requesting things like, hey, we could really use a USB output. So we could plug our GoPro right into it, or charge my phone. So that led us to building a splitter, so you can split your signal and take half of it to your fish finder, the other half to a USB, or a variety of other accessories. And then, other things where we could connect two batteries together to add additional runtime. So it's just listening, and being a somewhat small company, we try to adapt and build prototypes pretty fast and get them out into the hands of the users, and and then we'll go right to production. So it's an exciting, lively process.
That's awesome. That is really, really awesome. Yeah, you guys are killing it. Definitely a buzzword. And we keep hearing it over and over and over again. People always have questions about smaller batteries. Let's shift gears though and talk fishing. I'll start with you, Billy. Tell me the story about I guess the first question is, do you fish? And if you do, how was it that it was introduced into your life, and how did we get to the point now, to where it's really become a career for you?
Fishing really started when I was a kid growing up in Oregon, and my parents had a lake place we would go to on the weekends, freshwater lake, and spend Friday to Sunday nights there. Nice. And it was dock fishing or in a little john boat or in the streams heading out, and a variety of things. It could be catching crawfish to catching kokanee out there, and that was my introduction to it. And then my life shifted gears when I really got into water sports and just being competitive in that and achieving, going after my goals in that sport. And when I ended up moving down to Key West, probably back in 2009, when we started working on developing the lights, and I was going out at night and I'm just looking at all these massive lobsters that were cruising around at night, it reignited this hunting, to get out there and learn more about the sport.
Yep.
And, we just started bully netting lobsters off the board at night and hanging out with fishermen and just hearing their passion for it and how technical they can get. And that just it's been a lot of fun throughout that process.
Yep. Absolutely. What about you, Heidi? How did fishing kind of come into your life, and where has it taken you?
So I grew up on Lake Wiley in North Carolina. It's right outside of Charlotte. My parents, their house is about 15 feet off the shoreline. So I grew up swimming in the water every day after school, and water sports as well. But fishing, we all had our own fishing poles. We just fished right off the pier. But the funny thing is, we have these huge, we still have them, catfish under my parents' dock. They still live on the lake. They've been there 40 years now. And my mom, if fishermen would come by in the boat, she would go down there and kind of shoo them away from the pier because those were her favorite catfish that would swim under the dock. So if we, anytime we caught, fishing with friends, anytime friends would come over, we would fish. And I told Sean too, I was like, I didn't do a lot of fishing and kayaks and stuff, but when we were little, we weren't scared to swim under the dock and catch water snakes right off the styrofoam with our bare hands. And, they're non-venomous down here in Charlotte. So that was cool. So it definitely built my love for nature and being on the water. And we live on the water now. And, it's a therapy for me to get out there for sure.
That's
Whether
awesome.
It's just, sitting on the dock and sticking my legs in or going for a paddle or a swim. But getting to know these people over the past few months, it's kind of driven me now where I really would like to get it. And I told Billy, I said, I know ICAST is only a couple weeks away, and I had hoped that by then I was going to get in a kayak and, get out there and fish. And there's still time, but if not, I'm already planning some meetings with some of the pro staff to come down to Charlotte. And, I would like to learn from people I've been talking to, to go out on the water. And I feel like that could be a good, I don't know, therapy and just fun time for me. Some alone time, I feel like would be, nice out there. So,
absolutely.
But I have two kids now who also, my son loves to fish, and he sometimes it gets aggravated though when the snapping turtles steal the bait right off.
Oh yeah.
We have a lot of snapping turtles in Lake Norman. So,
oh yeah. Yeah, I've felt that pain.
But it's just and even connecting our batteries to fish finders, learning that whole process and understanding how it works and the technicality of it, and as fish finders, they're becoming so much more powerful, and just keeping up with these electronic devices, and it's been a very cool experience, and it's just growing so fast.
Yeah.
But it's exciting at the same time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there any kind of a weather condition or anything? Like, where's the threshold for you guys? I know with fishermen, some of us are pretty hardcore, and we will be out there until we see lightning. I mean, some of us are just like that, where it's like it can get pretty treacherous. Is there a weather condition that'll make you guys get off the water? Like, where's that threshold for you guys?
I would probably say the same with you, similar, lightning.
Yep.
We can tough it out in a storm and in the spring and summer, if those weather conditions aren't too bad and a rainstorm comes along, that's just part of being out there.
Yep.
And it's another story to tell when you survive a good little thunderstorm coming through. But once I see a bolt of lightning, I'm pretty much ready to head back home.
Yep. What about you?
I've seen too many close strikes.
Oh yeah. Yesterday we had a rough storm come in, and there was a lot of, cloud to ground lightning on this one commute I had going along the highway, and I'm just like, yeah, this was, and I was pretty pissed because I was trying to get out and fish for a little bit before work, but didn't happen. What about you, Heidi?
Bobby, real quick. Meanwhile, out in the Midwest, I was on Mille yesterday, one of the holy grails of smallmouth fishing in the country. And I don't get chased by weather, and I got chased by it yesterday without lightning because it was so bad. But I was out there because I'm stupid.
What about you, Heidi? What's your threshold?
Same thing, lightning, but also, the waves get too choppy. I've always been on lakes, and my dad used to have his own kayaking business, where he would rent out kayaks. He has 12 kayaks and several Old Town canoes. So we would always go in the Old Town canoes across the lake to search for Native American artifacts, and we would go out. But he taught us young as far as having our life preserver on, our life vest, what we needed to do if the waves got too, because the lake, those waves can get almost looks like the ocean out there in the main channel sometimes.
Oh yeah,
too windy, and you flip a canoe, that thing's sinking, and as long as we had on our life vest, we knew how to make it back to the dock. But
exactly,
the lightning, that was a big no in the middle Old Town canoe. That was didn't go out then, but even up here now paddling, if it's too windy, that paddleboard can get away from you in a heartbeat.
Oh, I believe it.
So and just the boaters watching out, and there's a lot of people on the water in boats who are maybe just rookies or haven't really had the experience on the water like I had growing up, and heard from my father. So it's watching out for other boaters is a big one, and then lightning for sure.
We have a segment devoted to that.
We did.
There was a lot of them on the water Sunday, I have to say.
Holiday weekends, it brings them all out. It really does. It's just one of the pains. Now, as for fishing on different bodies of water, do either of you have any preferences? Are ponds and lakes more your go-to? Do you like current? Or is it more, or is salt specifically your thing?
I would say, just from my background of freshwater lakes and streams, that's if I have a comfort zone, that would be it.
Yep.
But every time I was down in the Keys or out in Hawaii and going out with locals, I really started to see that could be a full-blown passion, because of the variety. And for me, the unknown of somewhere in some shallow water versus going into a channel and seeing the size of increase in whatever was out there. And it was sometimes, especially at night, it would get a little scary when you're out on a paddleboard that's lit up and you're crossing a channel in the flats and something enormous goes underneath you. I always thought, I'm just going to turn the lights out if I don't want to.
If you don't want to know
down there,
yeah, exactly.
But I'm excited to spend more time with some anglers that are saltwater, specialists, and just learn that aspect. It's fun to be new at something.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. What about you, Heidi?
As far as preference goes, I would guess because growing up in on the lakes around here in Charlotte, I would definitely have to say freshwater. I would love to also on my bucket list this year. Go down to the Outer Banks where one of our pro staff members lives, and he does these Outer Banks fishing trips, and it looks like a blast. On his kayaks, he's kayak fishing right around Kitty Hawk area, and he always looks like his customers come back with a ton of fish, and they'll cook them there. I mean, I love seafood, but I've never been saltwater fishing, so That's also on my bucket list this year.
And I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, even if you go to the Outer Banks to fish and the fishing's terrible, at least you're still on the Outer Banks. You know what I mean?
It's exactly.
Like there's worse places to be.
It's beautiful down there. Beautiful.
Now there is a saying amongst the fishing community that fishing tackle catches more fishermen than the tackle will actually catch fish. In your lifetimes, if you can recall some type of a tackle trend that the industry gave us, in your opinion, that you just think is absolutely ridiculous, what is it? And the follow-up is, have you ever tried it?
Ooh, fishing tackle. I'm trying to think growing up what, was in my little tackle box. Mm-hmm. And I believe, and I can't even remember the name of it, but it was just like a little red and white type silicone lure or jig that I just remember as a kid, once I used one of those, I felt like I had to have as many as possible in every different color. And it didn't even really matter if I was catching anything. It like you said, the tackle or those items will hook you. Just, anytime I went to the store or made an excuse and had a little extra cash, I was buying, more of those. So that was probably it for me.
Yeah. Oh, and I think everybody kind of runs into something where they see it. There was always those as seen on TV. You'd periodically see an infomercial. Things like the banjo minnow were real popular with that. I think there was another one. I think the helicopter lure also had a small infomercial or a commercial that ran regularly. And that's the kind of stuff.
Lure.
The flying lure. That's the one that I'm thinking of. The flying lure. And it's like they get this buzz sort of happens. There are some small swim baits that you see now, these little videos that'll pop up on Facebook every once in a while. And they're, super realistic action. And I'd be a liar if I didn't say I don't have a couple.
What is the frog one I saw the other day? It was a couple weeks ago, and I think I commented on it, or somebody shared, maybe Rachel, somebody, and it was a frog, and it looks like he hops across the lake. It was the coolest looking thing, and I kind of just wanted one to have one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think
I'll have to find it and send it.
Yeah,
I've seen an as seen on TV frog that like croaks. So as soon as you jerk it, it goes rrr, rrr, rrr. That was years ago. I can't remember the name of it, but that was kind of a goofy frog.
Yeah. There was a short time, too, where there were a lot of novelty tackle items. Like you would see Budweiser doing like their Zara Spook Jr. or something, and it was branded that way. And, all that stuff kind of comes in. Or I've seen some that have pull strings. Like you remember as a kid, like there would be a doll that had like a pull string and it would say something. Same idea where it would be, you would, cast, and I think this frog that Sean's talking about was similar, where there was a switch or something, and every time you would pop that frog, it would trigger whatever electronics were in there to make it say croak or ribbit or whatever. I wonder if it said ribbit. Now we have to get one.
You have to look that one up. I'm excited for Heidi to come. This will be her first iCast, and it is. I'm just blown away every year when I go to it at the volume of tackle and every little thing that goes along with fishing. And, they're all unique in their own way, but just some of them are so similar. I'm like, how can there be hundreds of this, different styles, but they're all so similar, but I guess it works, or it makes for a good collector's item.
Exactly.
Some of them look like artwork. Yeah. There's been some I've seen that are absolutely beautiful.
So for this next question, I'm a big believer that, like, even if it's a bad day of fishing, if you're with the right people, you can make some of the most the most heavily impacting memories of your life, just with the people that you're with. So for each of you, why don't you give me like the top 3 people that you would love to fish with, and they can be living or dead.
Ooh, Heidi, you go first.
I know. I'm trying to think about that. Oh gosh. Well, I know I'm already planning to. I want to. I already told Rachel I want to fish with her, so she would definitely be just to have a female teach me her ways on the water. Let's see. Billy, have we ever gone fishing together? I don't think we have.
No.
I fish with both of my children, my family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of the third person I would love to fish with.
I have had
Maybe
some interesting answers for this question. Some people, it's
maybe Jim Salmons.
yeah.
Yeah, I like watching him on the water.
There you go.
It looks like it'd be a fun time out with him.
To me, that's what it's all about. Is how fun would they be on the water? You know.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think. I think Jim, Chad Hoover. He's always an entertaining character.
Yep.
I have to say Heidi, or she's gonna probably like kill me. And I think an interesting guy would be Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, Billy. I'm a big fan of Hunter S. Thompson, and yeah, you're absolutely right. I know he's into guns. I don't know if he fishes at all, though.
He was a big guy down and hung out in the Keys quite a bit with Hemingway. So I'm sure they would make for some interesting characters out on the water.
Absolutely. So this next question is a little bit off the mark a little bit here, but when you're going to get out on the water, whether you're just going, for a paddle or you're spending a day out fishing, what is it that you're listening to get pumped up? Like what's the soundtrack for you that gets you like hyped up for a day out on the water? Heidi, let's start with you.
We love a lot of reggae music, but it's not the kind of reggae music you would think of. We're big music lovers. We travel out of town to see some of our favorite bands. A lot of them. One of them was we went up to Boston a couple weekends ago. So I would have to say the Elevators. There's a bunch of different bands. Nothing too hard. We're pretty mellow music.
Yep.
When we're out on the water, we're pretty chill and mellow and just having a good day. Good vibes. Got to be all about the good vibes for sure. A lot of that. I don't know. Billy,
I'm a big fan of the Elevators as well. Same type of music, stick figure, Elevators, stuff like that. But then I grew up on classic rock. So, you could throw in some AC/DC in there or Blue Oyster Cult. And then even some of the newer, heavier bands are pretty fun. But it just kind of depends on who I'm with and what the vibe is that day. Just kind of depends. And as long as the cooler is full as well, too, that always helps.
I think that.
And if I have my daughter with me, it's all about we have to put on Fergie or, Yeah. Yep. It just honestly depends on who we're with. So
I agree. I think that comes into play. Definitely, who you're with. I think it, and when Sean and I go fishing, it could be anything from Rush to the Grateful Dead. It could be, Swedish black metal. I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Awesome.
But it is like, I think that's the whole thing. Like, fishing is really the thing I love most about it is the community. So when you're, when you're mixing up your outings with different people and you're sharing these stories, like I think there's nothing more sacred to this sport than that. It's really just something super duper special. Random question. I haven't asked this one in a while. What are each of your most unusual talents? And they can be fishing related or completely not.
Oh gosh. Billy, you go first with that one. I got to think about that.
Well, I would say just coming out of the water sports background and being around that all the time, it surprises people when I tell them that I play disc golf professionally and I've been sponsored for 10 years. And that's just a huge passion. And it's something that I love getting out into the woods and having times. It's very similar to fishing where you're bonding with your friends, you're sharing something that is a similar passion. And it doesn't matter if you're great at it or it's your first time, as long as you have that. But, even in our warehouse here, I have a full disc golf setup so I can practice when I'm not able to get out and play. But that one always surprises people because they're like, huh?
It's funny you bring up disc golf because in the last handful of years, more and more people that I've either met or have known that has come up in conversation. I've never done disc golf before in my life, but I'm finding there's a lot of people that are really into it. And then I've recently been teaching my oldest daughter how to drive. And when we started out, I wouldn't bring her on any actual roads. We would go to this college campus that was closed up, and she would drive around this massive parking lot with connecting roads here and there and speed bumps everywhere. So as she started to get a little bit better, I would kind of, not be so focused on what she was doing and kind of get caught up with the scenery. And I never noticed that this campus that's right near me has a full disc golf course surrounding the entire campus. You just go from spot to spot to spot. And when I saw it, I was just like, oh, I wonder how long it's been here. But then I'd take her to drive, and there's plenty of people out there using it. And it's crazy. It's a really popular sport.
It is. I think in Charlotte, we have close to 40 courses. Wow. And the great thing is they're free. Once you have a little equipment, you can go out there and spend a day, with your family and people aren't staring at their phones, and you're engaging in conversation. You're listening to good music, and it can be as competitive as you want it to be as well. So that's, I guess it follows a parallel line with fishing. It's just, with doing something like that with your friends. But that's it's always a random one when I mention that to
absolutely.
friends.
Bobby, that course that you're talking about, that college is one of my favorite. I've taken a ton of classes there over the years. Mm-hmm. I want to say that course was built between 2000 and 2005. I might be a year or two off on there, but I've had a set of disc golf discs for 10 years, and I never get out to use them because I'm fishing so much.
Yeah.
So, Billy, I played Ultimate for years, and when I was active duty. And it's a natural transition because once you can throw a disc, you can throw a disc.
Yep.
And I never, because I'm so into fishing, they sit and they wait.
Yeah.
Well, at least you have them.
Yeah, I do for a rainy day. But if it's raining, the pressure's dropping and the fish are biting. So I guess I won't be going on a rainy day.
What about you, Heidi? What's your undiscovered talent?
So I feel like I have more undiscovered hobbies that I do talents.
Okay.
I have a lot of things that I love to do that even Billy might not know. A couple things as far like I like to sew. I can sew pillows. I love to garden. Like we love landscaping. I think
nice.
Billy and I we both love that. But another thing that I think is cool is searching for artifacts. Especially when you're out in nature, wherever you are, think about where you're going, where you're paddling, what lake are you on, what river, who used to paddle there hundreds of years ago. So for me growing up, that was huge when I would go out. I mean, that was the first thing I wanted to do after I got done with my homework is hit the canoe, go over and start finding arrowheads and pottery and, just learning the history of what river you're on and, who was there before you. I think it's
true.
Cool. So we both like to find, we have a couple of shelves actually where we just, things we find that we like to keep and learn about it. So that's pretty cool because down here we have all, the Catawba River and it's where the Native Americans lived. And it's cool to find all the, how they hunted, how they fished,
Yep.
So I guess that's my big one.
And that's the thing, like the rivers especially were a way of life. I mean, there were, a highway, that's how they would move things. Like it was necessary. So you have to think, you go back generations and there's going to be stuff that gets left behind in there that you can discover. That's pretty cool. And I love when, everybody collects, even if they don't say they collect oddities. Everybody collects like random items, things that they just connect with. For me, a lot of times it's fishing tackle and reels and things like that. But also, like for me, it's like radios. I've always had this thing with broadcasting and things like that. So like antique radios and stuff. I just think that stuff is cool.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
I thought for sure Heidi was going to answer that question. Well, I just told you guys I can swim under a dock and catch handfuls of water snakes.
That's actually
who else can do that?
Yeah. I feel like really that is the unspoken.
I'll send you a picture of my dad a couple years ago. He had one under the canoe that in the summertime, or actually in the fall when it's cooler out, they'll hide under the canoe to warm on the sun in the dock. And I mean, they are gigantic down here.
Really?
You come out from under that dock like the scene in Ace Ventura when he's got the snakes in his hands and pass it.
And we would let all our friends wouldn't want to touch him, but he taught us how to swim up to the dock. And back then we had styrofoam holding up our dock. Now that's not even allowed on the waters. But we would, sneak up to that styrofoam, and he taught us how to grab them and swim out with them and put them on the dock. And we would just show everybody, let them touch them, and then put them right back where we found them.
Snakes. That's a big nope from me. I'm out fishing and I see a snake swimming along the bank, and I was like, "Oh, this is your spot. I'll see you in a bit."
Watching them eat like a catfish too. If you've ever seen a water snake devour a catfish, is something that is unique. I'll send you a couple pictures of that too that I have.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
It's pretty fascinating. Their body just is gigantic, like just one part of their body where the fish is going down. But anyways, I don't know. So maybe that's what I find things that are fascinating, unusual.
That's freaking crazy. Now let's talk about. This is probably the most important question of the show, and there's a little bit of a caveat here. What is your preferred fried chicken joint? And the caveat is it has to either have a drive-through or be located in a gas station.
Definitely Bojangles for me.
Oh, Bojangles. That is some quality stuff.
And today's actually I think it's the anniversary. I actually saw that up. Yeah, in 1977. They opened their very first one in Charlotte on this day. So that's funny that you said that. Yeah.
A vintage year. 1977.
It was the year of Bobby Roast Beef.
And Sean the Fisherman.
And Sean the Fisherman, yeah.
Nice.
Bojangles chicken.
Also the year that Star Wars came out. I mean, for what it's worth.
That's a big year.
It was a huge year.
It's the same. It's the same for me as well. I was a KFC guy when I lived out west. Yeah. And then once I moved out here to the East Coast, I was introduced to Bojangles, and I've been hooked ever since. There's some really good little small local spots around. Unfortunately, those suffered a lot last year, but it's still Bojangles if I have my choice.
Bojangles is pretty fantastic. My family, we went to Myrtle Beach 3 years ago maybe now, and we had our first experience with Bojangles for breakfast. And then we had, on the way back, we had the, fried chicken from there. And I was blown away because I'm Popeyes until I die for the most part. I recently threw Popeyes a contender with crispy crunchy chicken, which is pretty freaking amazing. But Bojangles has a special place in my heart where it's clogging an artery, I think is really, that's a special place.
Exactly. Their ham biscuits are divine.
Oh my God.
Country ham, yum.
Out of this world. Favorite. Out of this world. And I don't know where that question ever actually came from, but I was just like, one day I was like, I feel like that says a lot about a person. Let's find out what their favorite chicken joint is. And
that's a good one.
If they're vegetarian or vegan and that fried chicken area happens to be the Morningstar display at their grocery store, that's fine too. And if they say it's Chick-fil-A, end of interview. It's okay. Because that's not a chicken joint.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what do we have next here? What it would be a fishing destination or like a dream trip that would be on your bucket list that you would love to take? Like a specific body of water that you're just like, yeah, before my card gets punched, I want to fish this spot. I need to be on that water.
I think there were so many areas down in the Keys in general that I was so limited to the area around Key West because that's where we were doing our prototyping for the lights.
Yep.
But running into kayak fishermen that were going up the Keys, and I want to say they were permit fishing out in the flats, off of a kayak or a small skiff. Yep. That is something I watched their videos and I was like, I have to go do that one of these days.
Yeah. My folks used to spend a lot of time in the Keys. Occasionally they go back. every once in a while, and they keep telling me the same thing. They're like, you need to make a trip out there. It's a whole other, like my father said that he's like, there's Florida fishing and then there's the Keys fishing. They're different things entirely, you know? And he's just like, you would absolutely love spending a week down there, just getting lost in the culture. It's right up my alley. I'm afraid I might not come back the way he's described it.
It'll definitely sink its hooks into you, and paddling through the mangroves and discovering, you know, these hidden pools inside of mangrove islands, and you know, understanding all of that, and what especially with the guide is just something that I would love to do.
That's awesome. I think that's the way to do it too. You go out with somebody who's experienced and can show you, you know, some of the points of interest that you know you're looking for, and you're not, you know, getting tied up or, you know, leaving your journey up to chance. If you can go out with somebody, a guide that's got the experience, that's the way to do it. Yeah. Heidi, what about you? What's like your destination bucket list trip?
I would love to go to Hawaii and go kayaking there around the islands and kayak fishing. One of our customers recently sent us a picture of him out on the kayak, and this turquoise water, and sun was shining, and he caught this beautiful, beautiful fish, and I mean had it draped over his kayak, and it just looked, I don't know, it just gave me this feeling of like warm sunshine, fishing, tropical. But like I said, I still want to go just right out my back door here on Lake Norman and go to some quiet coves here with some close friends and learn and fish. You know, down here we definitely don't eat the fish out of the water here. But in our lakes because they're polluted. But you know, even to go to the Outer Banks and, you know, fish and be able to have dinner later that night, it would be awesome. So, and I think when we go to the Keys, hopefully this year we'll go out where one of our friends takes you out on a boat and he catches you fish, and then you cook it right there on the boat.
That's the best.
While you're there. So yeah, those are my top 3 places, I would say.
Yeah, that's
I told.
Go ahead, Billy.
I told Heidi a story about, and I think that probably triggered part of the Hawaii adventure. Is I lived out in Waikiki area for about a year, and I was surfing in Waikiki Beach, and there are lava tubes that come down from the mountains, and so Waikiki has a lot of fresh water that's coming out through these lava tubes into the saltwater bay there. And when I was surfing in the morning, I would always see these older guys on huge surfboards with a little crate and their supplies with them, and they were right out past the break, and they would fish. And I remember paddling up and just meeting these guys, and one day one of the locals just told me to come over, and he had caught a fish and filleted everything, and he was making sushi right on his board. And nice. He dove off of it, went down about 20 feet, pulled up a rock and pulled the seaweed off of it, was really careful about how he did it. And then he swam back down and put the rock back. And he said, that's just part of respecting that local nature. Yeah. And it was part of a freshwater lava tube. And then he ripped that up and pulled it and put it across the fish. And we ate it right there floating on my board. And I was just like, man, this is it.
That's so cool.
I want to do this.
That's like taking the phrase that's super like on trend right now, that farm to table experience. And that's putting that way in the back row. Like that is as close to the natural environment as you can possibly be. You're sitting right in it. That's amazing. That sounds so cool. I love this. So this next question is really, it's sort of the bulk of our show, really, as far as the interview segment goes. There's 2 questions for each of you, and you guys can either answer one and then the other answer the same one, or go back and forth. But really, what I'm looking for from you each is 2 stories. I'm looking for the story that was like where something maybe happened on the water, that the moment that you're most proud of. Maybe it's catching like this amazing PB. Maybe it's catching a new species, or maybe it's something where something actually went wrong on the water and you were able to write it and, kind of make it happen. But whatever the moment is that you're most proud of on the water. And then the other one is sort of like the biggest element while you were out fishing or just out on your boat, like where it was just like the biggest derp sort of moment?
Billy, you can go first. That one.
I would say it was probably when we were developing the lighting systems in down in the Keys, and it was just such a new experience. And I think I had made 5 prototypes just all by hand. And once we discovered we could catch lobsters at night, we got our permit to do it, and I rigged up my paddle shaft with a bully net on one end and my paddle on the other end, and it was telescopic. And we were just going out and catching lobsters, and then bringing them right back and being able to cook that, and have my friends would bring local food over, something they were growing in their garden, and to just share that with my friends and think, wow, I'm paddling on this prototype that I hope is going to be a product at someday. So that was exciting. And then I'm out there with my friends, and then we're eating and sharing that story. And then I get to even tell it again right here. It's just something cool. I'll never forget.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely like a timestamp moment where you're just like, this is sort of it. And look at where it all kind of came out to. Now you've got the company with that lighting system and that power system all sort of happening. It's like, how could you not be most proud of that? it only makes sense, Yeah. Now, what about you, Heidi? What's your most proud moment?
Mine would probably be when my kids were probably Max was 3 and my daughter was 5. They're 13 and 11 now, but buying them their first tackle box. Tori had a hot pink and Max has a green one, and they still have it to this day. And filling it up with different bait and tackle, and they had their little fishing poles. So I don't even know, Max might have had a Finding Nemo pole. And just taking them down to the dock for the first time. And first we dug up all the worms we could find in the yard. Which I think he had more fun doing that than actually fishing, and just teaching them how to hook the bait and fish off the dock. And we only caught brim, and we had a little kiddie pool at the time, and my kids are big on, they didn't want to hurt the fish. But they wanted to keep them for a little bit. So we put them in the little kiddie pool on the dock and let them swim around for a little bit before releasing them all back into the lake. But I think that's one of even from being little, I think, teaching having that experience with my kids, and now watching how much my son loves to do it. Yeah. That's probably my biggest, my best experience. And now, because now just getting to this, I joined NACWA back in December, and I never thought my whole life that I would be on the phone with the customer in Hawaii, teaching them how to connect a battery to a fish finder. And so it boggles my mind how things, in life can come in full circle again.
Oh, definitely. And, you hit something really key there. The joy on your children's face when they catch like their first fish or their first big fish is absolutely amazing. I can remember my oldest daughter, when I was first getting, back into fishing in like 2012, I would drag her with me to go and fish every once in a while. And she was learning how to use a spinning combo. And, lots of times I would choose places that maybe were nearby a playground. So if she got a little bit bored, she could go and play. And one day she hooked into this chain pickerel, and she was out at the park, and, I saw the tip of her rod going crazy. So I reel in this chain pickerel, and I go walking over to it, and she thought I had like a sea monster in my hand. It was crazy. She's like, "What is that? Oh my God." I took a picture. It was one of the first Instagram pictures I ever posted. And it was so great. It was amazing. And then fast forward, this was, I guess it was it maybe last summer? It was either last summer or the summer previous, where she caught her first bass, and she actually held the bass for the first time. It was amazing. Yeah, I think it was last year. I think she had just turned 16 or was about to turn 16. And I was like, what a difference. This is unbelievable. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like, when you that joy that they have on their face, like you can't miss it. Now, what about the big fails? Because everybody's got no shortage of stories there. The difficult part is picking which one. Billy, where are you with the most epic fail?
I had a great one. Again, we were doing a photo shoot down in the Keys with a company, Palhana, that they make paddle boards, a variety of paddle boards, and they had come out with one called the Angler, That's a 34-inch, just a high volume board with a bunch of tie downs. So, you can hook your cooler, rod holders, all this stuff to it. Well, it was my first time. I had never been paddleboard fishing before. And it's down there, and we're kind of simulating some stuff just to look cool. And I start casting out, and I hooked into a tarpon, and it took me for a ride. And I'm in close quarters with the mangroves, and I just had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I was at this moment of like, how do I let go? Do I jump off the board? What's happening? But in the meantime, I'm just getting smacked into mangroves, and everybody on the photo boat was just laughing. I mean, the cameramen probably didn't catch everything because they were buckled over laughing so hard at me in sheer terror. Almost reverting back to my wakeboarding days, thinking maybe I can pull a trick off here somewhere.
Yeah,
but,
there you go.
I ended up in the water with a bunch of tackle, and it made for at least a funny story.
Oh, my goodness. I wish I could say I couldn't relate, but I totally can relate. Not so much with getting dragged around by a fish, but ending up in the water with a bunch of tackle happened a little too often for me.
Yeah.
What about you, Heidi? What's your epic fail story?
Gosh, I have a couple, I guess, just living on the water, and even with my kids growing up on the lake too. Probably fishing in the water, but standing in the water and doing it, and then not realizing that leeches were attaching to my children's legs. And I felt like a total mom fail, because I guess I just didn't realize that those suckers can come out of nowhere and they will not let go. And it wasn't until I had my son, he was little at the time, in the shower, and he was like, "Mom, I can't get the mulch off my leg." And this is after we'd been fishing probably for like 3 hours, and just standing in the water fishing on our shore. And I had to pull it off, and it was a leech that left a blood trail down the shower. And just needless to say, he didn't want to fish for a while.
Quite a while, I'm sure.
Because of the leech. But, yeah, I didn't. Other than that, I did. There's not too many other ones besides crazy snakes in Lake Wiley. And,
We'll have plenty more to share with you on that as we go through our first kayak fishing experience.
Oh yeah,
those are going to build up on the epic fail stories.
I feel like I want to have a GoPro for that.
I was just going to say, make sure you film them.
Yeah.
Just after last night paddling, and the fish were gigantic. What do we see? A huge striper, and then a couple big catfish and bass. But they come up under the board. It's like the light kind of stirs them up, but then they're so attracted to it. And it feels like the board kind of ripples. And I'm sitting down on the paddleboard paddling just so I can get a better view into the lake. It's just crazy to see the size of these things. I don't see them during the day ever. But at night, seeing them,
I've heard that they're attracted to the light. Like they're either, I don't know if it's just, curiosity or what it is, but that if you've got lights in the water at night, they're going to go. I've heard the same thing about docks. Lots of times you see people that have lights on their docks. They're like, that's a great spot to go and try and pick off a couple of fish, because they'll go and, and they'll kind of like press up, post up against where the light is. And I mean, I don't necessarily know the reason for it, but we'll find out, because I'm gonna talk to Derek, and we'll see about putting one of these Nockwell lighting systems on the Titan.
With a lot of docks, Bobby, the some of the science behind it is light attracts bugs attract small fish.
Then
you got the predatory fish going after the smaller fish.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. It definitely does. I got to be honest with you, Heidi. I was really expecting one of your story to have to do with a snake. At some point, I was like, I wonder if it's going to have to do with a snake. But the fact that
it almost did, I did save my dad from getting bit by a copperhead, because they hang out on the shores. They don't get in the water to swim unless they're catching a fish. And he almost got bit. But recognizing that, that was
copperheads. I
was like, Dad,
good.
Back away slowly. And that copperhead struck, but it missed him.
Well, that's good. It missed him. When you started talking about leeches, I immediately thought of that scene in Stand By Me.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. And I had seen that growing up, too. And I was like, oh, my God, what have I done? And then I tried to flush the leech. And flush him down the toilet with the toilet paper. Well, he suctioned onto the side of the toilet bowl.
Really?
And wouldn't go down and stretched out as the toilet was like spinning around. I've never seen anything like this. And so I actually had to pick him up out of the toilet bowl and actually had to smush him and then flush him because.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I can't have him. My son was screaming. So yeah, that was my leech story.
Bobby, playing off that question, when Heidi and I first started talking about setting up this interview, she had mentioned something, and this would probably be defined as a success, I would guess. Billy, did you have your name in the Guinness Book of World Records for some reason or another? Heidi didn't really get into it. She mentioned that. So I'd like to hear the story behind that.
It was for the longest mustache ever. No, I'm just kidding. When I was hydrofoiling and competing, so it's the sit-down hydrofoil. A lot of people know it as an air chair, a sky ski, but it's you're strapped into it. You're riding it behind the boat, and you have the ability to jump or do flips that are pretty high. And I knew the record at that time was 18 feet off the water. And when I would video most of my practice runs for competition, I noticed I was just by gauging of the height, I knew I was like going above that most of the time. So I contacted Guinness and we set up a way to measure it. That was the biggest thing, using the survey company to measure the height and triangulate position or the height. And they flew out here. We set up a huge event and I went after it. The crazy thing is the day before I was really pumped up and, we're getting the safety crews and everybody in place. And my very first practice flip, I over-rotated and woke up in the boat, knocked out on the water, and that ended practice that day. So the next day when, thousands of people are out in their boats out floating in the water and I'm ready to do this, I had some flashbacks of the day before, but fortunately I did set it at right at around 23 feet and it got me into the book and I'm still in there.
No kidding. Wow. That's amazing. Holy crap. I can't believe, Sean, I can't believe you didn't mention this before. We usually do a pre-interview meeting. I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Sometimes your reactions when you don't know what's coming are priceless.
Even better.
I gotta keep them, it's once in a while. I don't do this every week,
It's true. No, I
that and I'm a hippie and I forgot.
So, when I was hanging out down at ICAST one year with Chad Hoover, he was really excited after we talked about hydrofoiling and how high it could go. He's like, so you think you could flip over me while I'm on the kayak and I could be doing an interview and then you just like come flying over the top of me? I was like, sure, man, that's no problem at all.
Yep.
We need to do this.
That's awesome. That's freaking crazy. I can't believe it.
Chad Hoover, an aspiring daredevil. I mean, I met him this spring. He didn't seem like he wanted people doing backflips over him and stuff. I mean,
he lost a little enthusiasm when he said, well, what's the hydrofoil like? I go, well, it's made out of CNC machined aluminum. It's about 40 inches long and I sharpen it with a chef's knife. So it's razor sharp. And he's like, maybe he could just jump next to me and we'll figure out how to make it look like it. I go, nah, dude, if we're doing this, I'm going over the top.
Yeah. 100%. You got to. I mean, if you're going at all, you got to go big.
Exactly.
Well, Billy, Heidi, this was absolutely phenomenal. Why don't you guys take a minute, go ahead and promote NACWA, let people know where they can get more information about the company, about the products. If you guys have anything special that's coming up, like if you're launching anything new or you have any events going on, this is a great opportunity to let people know what's up with NACWA and what they can expect to see.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank you guys for giving us this time to talk a little bit about ourselves and the company.
Yep.
And we're excited for the products that we're introducing at ICAST in a couple of weeks. We had to keep things under wraps for a while, but we're introducing quite a few new power supply solutions, both on the technical side and the capacity side, but also visually. We're trying to separate ourselves by making the batteries look as cool as they perform.
Yep.
And then accessories wrapped around that. So definitely stay tuned. The best place to find out, any more on the product is on the website, www.naqua.com, and through our social media, both Facebook and Instagram. And so that's, once we get through ICAST, I think everybody's going to be pretty excited to see what's coming down the pipeline for product wise. And then I think Heidi can talk a little bit more about the team.
Mm-hmm.
First off, thank you guys so much. Sean, thank you so much for inviting me to join and introducing me to Rachel. Bobby, it was really nice to meet you finally. I've heard so many good things about you and just the podcast in general, and learning more about this industry, because we're putting these products out there. So I'm learning as we go as well. So I just wanted to put together a team of awesome people, and every single person we have on our 10-person pro staff team is killer. They're so unique in their own way. And that's what really drives me every day is, it's not even about, who has the most followers or likes or anything like that. It's getting these people who are very passionate about what they do to test our products, get feedback, and then make our products even better. And it's just the support and energy you feel out there. I mean, you can get so much negativity from social media these days.
Oh, definitely.
And, sometimes you don't even want to click on Instagram, but, or Facebook, but, it's been a fun ride, and I'm excited to be at ICAST in a couple of weeks and, meet all these people, but I've never met them before. Mm-hmm. And, I think it would be cool to plan a whole trip with everybody, on the water somewhere. So definitely on my bucket list. But again, thank you guys so much for having us. For sure.
Oh, we're glad to have you guys on. This is awesome. When there's products like what you folks have that an unmeasurable amount of people have said, you got to check out these batteries. You got to check out Naqua. That says something, and you guys are, Sean's foot, I think, tells the tale. This is well worth it.
How many broken feet have you prevented in the past 7 years?
If you drop our battery, you can kick it back up to yourself like a hacky sack.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. I've seen the batteries up close. There's a lot of power in a very, very compact package. And, I think they're, I think this is something good, something that anybody who's on the water and who needs to power other resources, tools, creature comforts, whatever it might be, this is a great option for them. So, Heidi, Billy, this is absolutely awesome. I want you to do me a favor. If either of you has a picture holding a large fish, feel free to send that over to us. We can also use if you don't. There's an image on the Power Pro Kit page over here of a hand coming out of the water holding the Naqua battery. I could use that as the artwork if you'd rather. Just let me know what you guys want me to do, because I try to customize the artwork for every single episode so it stands out and looks a little bit more unique.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and before we go,
Pictures of pulling leeches off relatives.
I wanted to find out and I can email you guys this too, what your favorite charity, like water fishing charity tournaments that benefit charities. Do you guys have a preference? Like, is there any that stand out once a year for you guys?
Make Mass Fishing Spots Great Again has been
That's a big one for us. Make Mass Fishing Spots Great Again. They're a cleanup organization locally in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, cool. Awesome.
We'd be happy to help support, somebody that's close to you. Or something like that. So if anything else comes to mind, let us know. We'll do our best to help support those events.
Definitely, man. I appreciate it. That is huge.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this was really awesome. I thank you so much for coming on and being part of the show. We're starting to kind of build up a good stock. I'm not 100% sure on the date that this one's going to drop, but when we get that schedule lined up, I'll let you guys know. And we'll be tagging when we promote for this on every single platform that we've got. So we're going to tag multiple accounts in there to get the sharing going. I'm sure that we're going to have Rachel doing some sharing as well. She's going to be very excited to hear this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You guys might end up being the number 2 most listened to podcast on our list, so that could be pretty amazing.
We'll see. Maybe somebody will take me out kayak fishing after this.
I think that needs to happen. You know what? Let's schedule it. Let's just meet in the Outer Banks and we'll go for it.
Right?
Let's come on.
Perfect.
I love it.
Perfect. I'm in.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much. Have yourselves a good one. And
right,
we'll be in touch, all right?
All
Got
right.
it. Thank you again.
so
Have a
much.
great day.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yep, that's about going to wrap things up for us here with this episode of Jigs and Bigs. We had a good one. Big shout out and thank you to both Billy and Heidi from Naqua. Really appreciate them being on the show. I'm serious, folks. If you have devices out on the water and you need to power them, take a good look at Naqua. You will save yourself a lot of grief and a lot of weight by looking into some of the products that they have, and also take a look at the lighting options that they have too. I mean, that is absolutely amazing stuff. Do yourself a favor, go and check out some of the videos that they have posted on their website. If you have not considered putting lighting on your boat, you may want to. It can definitely change your situation for night fishing for sure. So there is that. But thanks to them, very, very glad that we have that connection. We got to get to know them a little bit, share some stories. We appreciate Naqua and everything you guys are doing. So thank you very much. Sean, do you have anything you want to jump in and add in here as we begin to wrap things up?
Thanks to Kari Townsend. It was very nice to meet her today. We had a blast talking with her. My wife and I did. And, I told her to anything she's got going on in the future, keep us in the loop.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're an outdoorsman or an outdoors woman and you want to decorate your house with some sweet ass, paintings and outdoor themed stuff, check her site out. You might find something you like. Not only does she have originals, but she also has prints, which we talked about. We're now paper, stretched to canvas prints, and her metal ones. So
cool.
Yeah, check it out. It's I believe it's Kari Townsend Art.
Yep.
Does that sound right to you?
I believe so.
Screw it up.
Yep.
Because I'm an idiot. That's what I do. Yeah, check it out. And we have one hanging in our house now. It's good stuff.
That's awesome, man. I love that. Yeah. I love it when this shit comes together. I'm telling you, I'm gonna find a metal print and I'm gonna put it right behind me. I think that's gonna look awesome. Like with the lights up. She had some good ones, man. I think it could be so cool. She actually posted something on her Instagram story asking about what her next piece should be. And I selfishly said football-sized smallmouth with the intention of buying whatever it was. So that's the idea. I mean, like a nice, like with the nice, like tiger stripey, like, yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Awesome.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah. It'd be amazing. That's where my mind is anyway. Before we wrap things up and pull a plug on this sucker, guys, one thing we do want to mention is that the fishing report has been happening regularly at northeastwildwoman.com. Check that out. We have amazing contributors giving feedback about their fishing adventures, their area. And we're talking about basically from about the Worcester Mark in Central Mass to the New York border, covering everything in Massachusetts in that window. We got a little something for everybody. There's a little bit of info that you can take with you and hopefully improve your outings while you're out trying to get on some fish.
Before we started recording, did you see what Cheryl had just recently posted on Instagram?
I didn't catch it. No.
Okay. She and her father went out and were doing a 3D shoot.
Oh, I saw that earlier today. Yeah.
Okay. So
that looked awesome.
You know who else is like a 3D shoot master, right?
I want to say Nelson.
The Dude Bud.
Oh, the Dude. Well, come on.
I think I'm going to try and talk those two into going out there and shooting fake animals together and seeing like having a contest or something. I don't know. We got to figure something out with that.
Maybe we can make that kind of a game show.
Yeah.
That could be fun. Sean, I know you and I had been talking about doing some Jigs and Bigs live stuff down the road. Live podcast recordings with outdoors themed trivia nights, things like that. Something had clicked the other day. And this has got to happen. So I have a 7'6" heavy rod with a janky tip that's over here. And I have numerous reels. I have a couple of Black Maxes over here. I've got other reels, all kinds of stuff. I'm really considering the idea of making one of my challenges, maybe even at regular trivia night, like a riff on cornhole, but with flipping a jig.
Ooh.
Yep. Flipping a jig into a can, something like that. And then even doing something like, archery based too. I think that could be great because I got a compound bow right here. You know what I mean? Why not? You know, I
don't know how the establishments are going to feel about that when you're like, okay, so you've got to put a flaming arrow through a hanging tire inside the
hanging
bar.
tire that is full of gasoline and gunpowder.
Do not aim the arrow at Bondi's Island. The gases may explode. A lot of methane over there.
We saw Damien from Stretching Lines had to deal with the fire over at Bondi's Island.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's no joke, man. This shit'll burn up. No pun intended. Burn up. Anyway, guys.
Worse than Pelicans.
We're at fucking Pelicans everywhere. The Pelicans at the Big E. Pelican legs.
Pelicans would be better behaved than the folks at the Big E.
They would be better behaved. More civilized for sure. I'm considering, I think that could be a lot of fun. I've put the feelers out to see like what people would think if I did like maybe just at my regular trivia nights, just did a Jigs and Bigs theme where that's what it was. For that week, we do a bunch of like outdoors type stuff, or and then I know I've had a good conversation with Joe and Wild Bill about doing something like right near like an Old Glory night. At an establishment right near Old Glory, and doing something where we're like, we'll do an event and we'll do a live recording and live stream with people there, a microphone right up there so that people can jump on and give, ask questions and engage with us. And it's just, when I say that there are amazing things coming for Jigs and Bigs, I am not just bullshitting you guys. There's a plan here, and we just have to make things line up just right. It's going to be really great. But luckily, we have amazing people that we work with, like Cheryl and our contributors for the Fishing Report to make things happen. Of course, we've got all this amazing merch that's available at jigsandbigs.com. We do have a new potential artist that may be working with us for some new designs. He's an international artist, and we've been talking a little bit here and there to kind of make things kind of interesting. I'm trying to bring back like the old school metal shirts. That's kind of what I want to do.
Yeah, well, I still wear them. They're not old school to me.
That's what I'm saying. But like the good old days, Yeah.
Speaking of which, I did get a picture today from one Loaded Potato, our good buddy and Fishing Report contributor, Andy.
Oh yeah.
He and his daughter out on the boat.
Awesome.
Wearing some Jigs and Bigs metal t-shirts.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yes.
I love that.
They were twinsies today and they looked good, and thanks to them for honestly getting the product out there. They're out there showing it off.
Totally
ain't
twinning.
Scared.
No. They're making it happen. I love it. Guys, thank you so much for checking out this show. Once again, you know that this podcast isn't a damn thing without y'all. We love our guests. We love our listeners. We love all our followers on social media. Thank you guys so much for everything. You guys are awesome. Get out there and catch some fish, everybody. We're in it now. This is summertime. So, whether you find them deep or you find the ones that are shallow, go and hook them. And we will see you guys next time. Have yourself a great one. We'll see you 7 days from now. Tight lines.
Stand me, stand free with a plan. I'm your main homie. Want to get you out of a jam just like family. But I'm not, though I remind you a lot indeed. Yes, sorry. Hands up to the sky if you believe. Stand free. Weep when I breathe like a tree. Worms on the blades dancing all around me. Put together in a puzzle like a story that you see. I'm waking up in a new world. Things have changed since a lot. Everything seems unusual,
up and you'll still be in hell. But it's just another breakdown, another failed transmission. It's a drill and persevere. Ring that motherfucking bell. I'm gonna keep surviving and bet it I'ma keep on climbing, yo. I'll adapt, it's a fact. I'll turn this metal into gold, turn this sorrow into soul, burn this pain like it's cold, torch this bitch like a bowl. The world is mine, body, soul.
I'm waking up in a new world. Things have changed since the night. Everything seems unusual, but I know it'll be alright. I'm waking up in a new world. Things have changed since the night. Everything seems unusual, but I know it'll be alright. Waking up in a new world, guided by the visual, future man from digital. Waking up in a new day, light speed, step up in this day and age, oh yeah. What a wonderful feeling to blast out to the sun, you know. Catch me moving up to the anti-gravity pull out, so take me up to the new world. I know I'll be alright, alright. I'm waking up in a new world. Things have changed since the night. Everything seems unusual, but I know it'll be alright. I'm waking up in a new world. Things have changed since the night. Everything seems unusual, but I know it'll be alright.
All right, hold on. Let me go get what I got to get. There's a prop involved.
Okay.
You're going to love this.
All right.
I didn't fuck something up, did I?
No. I was just playing the song.
So you know how, like, I think sometimes on media and shit, people on there come off as a little fake. And you and I we just keep it real. We're just idiots and we're just doing what we do, right?
Exactly.
Have I ever told you about the board game that we play at home?
I don't think so.
It's called Throw Burrito.
It's called Throw Burrito.
Oh, I've heard of this game before.
All right.
That's kind of cool.
We got Throw Burrito, and it's these little foam burritos. Really, I mean, you cannot hurt. Even if you take it in the eye, you can't get hurt with these things, right? So we have that. And when we came here with all the kids' cousins here, we were like, well, we should get another Throw Burrito so we can have some fun, right? Look at this. We found the outdoor version.
What?
Of Throw Burrito.
Dude, that's amazing.
For those of you not looking, I am holding up a 4-foot tall inflatable burrito that you bash someone in the head with when you get into a duel in this game.
Throw Burrito.
I do not know the makers of Throw Burrito. I don't care who they are. If you have kids and they like throwing shit at each other, you have the highest endorsement possible from Sean the Fisherman on getting Throw Burrito, both the indoor and outdoor versions.
Really?
It is awesome. Yeah.
Throw Burrito.
So that's what the kids have been doing all week, is smashing each other with 4-foot tall inflatable burritos.
This is my life.
That's amazing, dude. I love that. I can get behind that 100%. I love that. Shit. Dude, that is huge.
There you go. There's your PSA.
I love it.
Have a good week.
Oh, beautiful.
Throw Burrito.